What's up? How you doing? Test 2. What's up, Joe?
Hello.
Welcome to work.
Hi.
Okay, that didn't go through. Well, where in the hell is my post? Can I not post from that friggin' dashboard anymore? Everything's a mess. Everything is a friggin' mess.
What else is there?
One of these days. Pow!
Another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For JD Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states.
Oh, snippity snap. Here we go.
Final phase. Industrial and commercial electrical done right. This is Casey Hendrickson on News Talk 95.3 Michiana's News Channel, your breaking news and weather station.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3 Michiana's News Channel. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. Want to thank our sponsor, Second Amendment Arms and Range, located in New Carlisle. And, of course, if you mention me, you get half off your range time. Today's Thursday, so if you go to Second Amendment Arms and Range, it is the Defensive Pistol Open League nights. So, again, secondamendmentarms.net for more information. All right, some interesting things happening today. It's all tied to the same old garbage we've been talking about, but still interesting nonetheless. So the NRA has come out swinging. Okay, this is a relatively new article. Now, we didn't get an opportunity to really talk about it. At the end of last week, we ended up finding out that a bunch of the NRA board resigned in protest, and they really feel like there's some weirdness going on there. Of course, Oliver North was kind of, he stepped down, he resigned, he made some accusations. Wayne LaPierre's back in charge of it now. There's a bunch of stuff happening at the NRA that really nobody quite understands, at least not publicly that I'm aware of. The National Rifle Association responded forcefully on Thursday to attacks on the group following recent mass shootings and gun measures proposed by President Donald Trump. The Mammoth Gun Rights Organization, which boasts 5 million members, issued an 18-part statement by tweet to address recent events and proposed legislation following back-to-back shootings over the weekend in El Paso and Dayton that killed 31. We want to express our deepest sympathies to the families and victims in El Paso and Dayton. Unfortunately, aspiring presidential candidates immediately took to the airwaves this past weekend to politicize these tragedies and to demonize the NRA and its 5 million law-abiding members. Now, what's interesting about this is you always know that they're going to be attacked. Now, again, you can't show an NRA member who's actually committed one of these things, and yet they're the group that's always attacked for it, in spite of the fact that they're the reason that these background checks and things like that are even in place. So if you look at the NRA, and anytime there's a mass shooting, you know that they're going to attack the NRA, and you know the NRA is not going to respond. You know this because they never respond immediately after a tragedy. They always wait a week or so before they finally respond. And what ends up happening is, predictably, people say, why isn't the NRA saying anything about this? Why are they so quiet? It's because that's their policy. Their policy has always been to not politicize these shootings. The NRA has come under scrutiny since the shootings, with gun control groups holding a candlelight vigil outside the organization's headquarters in Northern Virginia on Monday to urge support for new gun measures in the wake of the tragedy. Again, none of those people have any idea about how responsible for the gun laws we have now the NRA really is. As a group that has advocated for Second Amendment freedoms for almost 150 years, we stand for only the safe and lawful use of firearms, which Trump, who enjoys the NRA support, reportedly consulted with NRA President Wayne LaPierre just after the shootings. That was reported by The Hill. Okay. It is our long-standing policy not to comment about meetings, the group said in response to the Daily Caller News Foundation's request to confirm that meeting. Trump addressed the nation on Monday, where he called for gun reforms, including early warning gun confiscation. Those are those red flag laws, which have already led to innocent people actually dying. So there's some huge concerns with red flag laws. The NRA initially released remarks supporting Trump, but used the longer statement Thursday to clarify issues they have with Trump's proposals. While the NRA said that they support getting treatment for those adjudicated as a danger to themselves or others, the statement went a step further. But there needs to be real evidence of danger, and we cannot sacrifice anyone's constitutional rights without due process. Now, that is exactly right. And this is the thing. We are increasingly getting away from due process in this country. All right. So let's just break this down here on what we have in our society. First of all, we convict people in the court of public opinion, not in courts anymore. So people that we hear a rumor about, we automatically form an opinion. Okay. We don't care about the facts. We don't care about the evidence. You can look at it with the South Bend shooting. People believe that the officer acted inappropriately in spite of the evidence. They don't care what the investigation shows. When the investigation is concluded, they don't care about any of that. Their confirmation bias says white cop bad, black suspect good. All right. That's their bias. If you look at the Me Too movement, the accusation means that the victim is telling the truth, and the man who is possibly innocent is automatically guilty, in spite of the fact that we know that many women fabricate these claims and actually draw attention away from real women who are victims. And then many of these men are innocent. And even when these men are proven innocent, a lot of people don't know that they get proven innocent. They still run with the old narrative that they did something wrong. Okay. So then those men are stigmatized for the rest of their life. We do this with everything. All right. That's just the court of public opinion. That's the character assassination garbage that we go with. Frivolous accusations against politicians, particularly politicians on the right, are so common now that people on the right are actually somewhat numb to it, and we can predict them with great accuracy on what's going to happen, what's going to be said about them in any election cycle. And yet other people out there, mostly on the left, sometimes in the middle, they just automatically believe this stuff without being able to sit down and critically think and go, it's impossible that we have had this many candidates in a row who all believe the same thing. Maybe it's possible that the people in my party are not telling the truth and they're just smearing people to try and win votes. Now, if you don't have the ability to sit down and actually think like a mature adult on these sorts of things, then you're part of the problem. But that's just the court of public opinion. We also have no-fly lists. Okay, so no-fly lists. Now, flying is not a right; it's a privilege. All right, so that's where they get away with this. No-fly lists predominantly do not have terrorists on them. A lot of people who are on the no-fly list have actually not committed a crime. They haven't been tied to a crime. There's no evidence against them. We don't have any idea if they are terrorists or not. There's literally no physical evidence against that person. Otherwise, they would be in custody and not on a no-fly list. Okay, so there is a dramatic amount. We've talked about Elijah Cummings. Okay, Elijah Cummings was once on a no-fly list. Okay, so, and we're talking about like in modern times, right? So they didn't want him to be able to own a firearm. They didn't want him to be able to fly and that sort of thing. That all got resolved allegedly, but he didn't do anything wrong that would justify that he's on that list, at least not that the public is aware of, but he was on the list. And if you look at the list, the no-fly list, it's been analyzed. Very few people are actually suspected of potential terrorist activity. Most of them have to do with low-level crimes, or there's some possible drug offenses that may or may not be lurking out there, but there's no evidence against them. And yet you want people to expand the no-fly list, and you want the no-fly list to automatically deny somebody their constitutional right to own a firearm. But there's no evidence that they've actually committed a crime. And people don't care. They're like, well, they're a danger. How are they a danger? I've actually been in debates with people on PBS and in other interviews where people go, these are terrorists. They're on the no-fly list. I'm like, how do you know that they're terrorists? Most of the people on the no-fly list are not even associated or accused of being associated with terrorism. And yet there's no evidence that any of these people actually did anything. If they're actually terrorists, I would hope that they would be arrested. They don't have an answer for this. They don't have an answer for this because the people on the no-fly list are not actually accused of a crime. Something happened that they think they may potentially, possibly be a risk, and therefore they don't allow them to fly because flying is not a right, it is a privilege. But yet people are trying to conflate the two issues with a right and privilege. So now you've got politicians who want to take people who have not been accused of a crime, there's no evidence, not been charged with a crime, and they want to extend that out and actually deny them their constitutional rights. Okay, so now we've got these red flag laws. Well, red flag laws are basically an extension of these no-fly lists, all right? It's kind of like the poor man's back door to a no-fly list, where somebody can make an accusation against somebody. And by the way, a lot of times that's accurate. We're now learning that the El Paso shooter, law enforcement was contacted about the El Paso shooter before they actually carried out the rampage. So we've got multiple contacts with the Dayton, Ohio shooter and multiple contacts with El Paso. Okay, so it one of those things that always comes out with these mass shootings, almost every single one of them were known to law enforcement. Somebody had said something and nothing was done. Okay, now again, that doesn't mean that law enforcement is at fault because the laws basically dictate that you're innocent until proven guilty. There's a lot of people who want to change that. They want to go full Minority Report. If you haven't seen Minority Report, or if you haven't seen it in a long time, go back and watch it, please, because that's where they're trying to go. There's actually a whole government program to be able to predict crime, and they're using genetics for the record. So little babies will have a genetic marker that criminals tend to have, and so these little babies would then be marked as potential criminals in the future as a result of all of this, which again throws out the notion that it's economic circumstance or class warfare that causes people to be criminals, but it would actually be genetic. And since we no longer kill people who do heinous crimes, and we don't really punish people severely who do other crimes, then they're in the population a little bit more, and they're apt to breeding. So it's kind of interesting to see how all that so-called science is working out, but honestly, it seems a lot like eugenics, if you ask me. So we've got all of this stuff. Our society is just constantly moving towards, let's go ahead and take away somebody's right without any evidence against them. And then, if they're innocent, we'll restore their rights. But that's not how things work. That's not innocent until proven guilty. That's guilty until proven innocent, which is the exact opposite of how this country and its judicial and legal system are supposed to function. So I'm glad that the NRA made that clarification, because we do have a bunch of people, many of whom I respect, who are running with these red flag laws because they feel like they have to do something. So they're caving to the pressure from people who don't want just red flag laws. They want to actually ban firearms. They want to take them away from you. Anyway, we've got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Casey Hendrickson.
News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Your breaking news and weather station.
Weather served up by the Prime
All right.
Tremendous service and great people. Visit Prime Table today for breakfast, lunch.
All right, what's up, everybody?
Is the YouTube comments, are they working?
Firearms, we want to take them away from them.
Doink.
Excuse me. You have an Indian read coming out of the break.
Oh, do I now? That one go through? All right, that one went through. So I just can't. All right, I just can't write from my dashboard. That's it. I got to actually go to the platform. Somebody got blocked. I have no blocks at all. So, yeah. Oh, Dean's laughing about the 8-8 thing. I've never even heard of that crap, dude. I've never heard of this 8-8 nonsense, ever. So, let me see. 8 Adolf Hitler. I've never heard of this crap. Okay, so 88, not 88, 88. I just looked it up. 88 is code for 88 Precepts, which is a manifesto written by David Lane, a late 20th century American white supremacist, on the proper organization of a white nationalist nation. 88 Precepts is a treatise on natural law, religion, and politics. However, according to the Anti-Defamation League, it is code for Heil Hitler. Again, the number comes from the position of the letter H in the Latin alphabet. So it's 88 as one thing, as opposed to 88. I mean, it's just... And it's the Anti-Defamation League who says that, but apparently 88 Precepts. It's an essay or manifesto written by David Lane. Yada, 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 yada. I've never heard of it before, ever. Including instructions for securing, protecting, preserving, and establishing white territorial imperatives in the northwestern United States and Eastern Europe, and distributed as propaganda. Yeah, so 88 Precepts. So I'd never heard it before that douche nozzle started talking about it. Yeah, Roland's got a point. The socialists know about it because, again, the Nazis were socialists. Whereas those of us out there who are normal folk, we've never even heard of this crap. So, I mean, it's just it's a mess. So, what's up, Matt Locke? How you doing, May? What time's your show now, Matt? I know you like the stream. You commenting? You hanging out? What's the deal? All right.
Don't forget the Indian read.
Indian.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. So yesterday I went to Wild West Wednesday and had several, actually ended up being police officers, some people from a motorcycle group that I belong to on Facebook, and they ended up being cops. Met me out here. We rode out to Wild West Wednesday yesterday. Elkhart Indian Motorcycle. Place was packed, by the way. Nice concert. They had a beer garden. It was a lot of fun. And got to obviously meet a lot of listeners who met me out there as well, including many who own their own Indian motorcycle that they bought from Elkhart Indian Motorcycles. While I was there, I had to go look at the FTR. Of course, I love the FTR. I will never own one, but I love the FTR. And the FTR it's just one of those motorcycles that has just kind of taken the motorcycle world by storm. But they had a carbon fiber version of it. Oh my, it was so pretty. I posted some pictures of it online, and it's a beautiful bike anyway. And the fact that they replaced the tank and your fenders and things like that with carbon fiber, it just looks stunning. Got to take a look at the new Royal Enfields that they have out there. Of course, they always have really cool designs with the Royal Enfields, and they've got some that are really, really neat. And those are really good entry-level motorcycles too for people who are looking to get a budget motorcycle. But of course, you get to see the Chief Dark Horse and the Chieftains and all of that. Those are just amazing motorcycles too. So here's the deal: if you want a motorcycle, go to Elkhart Indian Motorcycle. They've got Indian motorcycles. They've got the Royal Enfield, and of course they've got tons of used stuff. And it's just a great culture there. It really is. It's a great dealership. People love hanging out. It's like a family, and they do fun events like Wild West Wednesdays, like we were at yesterday, where everybody can come on out and hang out and have a good time in a safe environment to do so. Go to ElkhartIndianMotorcycle.com. They're located at 3016 Brittany Court. You should visit them in person over at Elkhart Indian Motorcycle. And while you're there, please let them know that I sent you over there. All right, 574-25-95, 95.3. If you're watching the live stream, by the way, I'm wearing my new Elkhart Indian Motorcycle cap. So I've got that. I'm wearing it backwards right now. I'll turn it around a little bit later. They were pointing out that it matches my logo on my bike, so I had to have one. So, of course, naturally, I got it. All right, so the NRA is coming out swinging against some of the allegations against them and their membership. And of course, and the NRA continues to be the group that is constantly blamed for things that its membership does not do. It's just kind of where they are in the United States. They're constantly demonized, even though, now, while they're a powerful gun lobby, they're not even remotely close to being one of the most influential or powerful lobbying groups in Washington, D.C. And we've gone over the financials of this quite a bit. What makes the NRA powerful is they have 5 million members. And 5 million members, when they get irritated, tend to make a lot of noise. So financially, they don't have this grip over politicians that the left tries to tell you that they have. Unions, in particular, teachers' unions and labor unions, but especially teachers' unions, and many prominent lobbyists and advocates like Soros and the Koch brothers and things like that have way more influence over Washington, D.C. and money issues than the NRA does. So again, the NRA does not have this massive, deep pocket sort of control over politicians that is alleged. And you can go to opensecrets.org and you can look at it. They're not even close to the top of political donors out there. But what makes them powerful is that, one, they stand for the Second Amendment. They're not the only group that does that. And there's a lot of gun groups that are not very fond of the NRA because the NRA is more willing to go along with stepping on your rights a little bit than many other organizations will. And so they're not always real fond of the NRA. But the NRA does take a stand, in general for the Second Amendment, but they have such a large membership that when their membership, again, is irritated by something that politicians are doing, they tend to make a lot of noise. And that's where their power and their influence comes from, not from money. With regard to universal background checks, which refers to the gap created by the lack of background checks required for private gun sales, the NRA drew another distinction from President Trump. It is not enough anymore to simply say that we need more background checks, they said. Considering both suspects in El Paso and Dayton passed them, that is rhetoric for billionaire activists and campaign rallies, not a call for constructive progress. And they're correct. We routinely do this after these shootings. So here's what ends up happening. We end up finding out that most of these shooters obtained their guns legally, or they stole them from somebody who obtained them legally, thus doing it illegally. They didn't buy them. And again, the research shows this. Okay, there's been state research in Illinois. There's been federal research that's focused on inmates in Illinois because, again, the gun crime ratio in Illinois is so high. That's why they focus on doing the research in Illinois prison population so much. They don't get their guns from gun stores. They don't get their guns from Craigslist or online. They don't legally purchase them. They get them from their friends on the street illegally. Now, where their friends got them, who knows? But that's the people who committed gun crimes. When they do the surveys, they did not do a gun show loophole. They didn't get sold a gun after not passing a background check. None of that happened to any of them. Okay, so this is, again, when you talk about these universal background checks, what you're really proposing is you are trying to band-aid a solution that isn't a problem. Remember, the gun show loophole is largely a myth, mostly because of liability insurance at these venues and things of that nature. So do you occasionally have a couple of people who know each other who sell firearms to each other? Sure, but more and more people are just automatically paying the extra fee and transferring it to a dealership and having the licensed dealer go ahead and transfer the firearm because they don't want any blowback. They don't want anybody to come back. And they also understand that that's a good thing to do for the Second Amendment advocacy and industry, really, is to make sure that they're dotting all of their I's and crossing their T's to make sure that they're not selling to somebody who might be not legally able to own a firearm. So that is something that it's almost being self-policed out. And we've debunked the gun show loophole nonsense for many, many years now. And like I said, criminals don't go to gun shows and get their guns there. It just doesn't happen. So what you end up finding out, and we looked at the research. Remember I told you that people who commit crimes with their guns, who had legally purchased their guns, on average had owned their guns for 8 years. So again, you're in a situation where you are looking at going ahead almost a decade and having this pre-crime notion that this individual who has broken no laws and has no red flags on them or anything else in 8 years' time is going to snap for some reason. And we don't know why they always snap. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we're able to trace it, that sort of thing. Sometimes there were warning signs when they bought their firearm, but not always. So on average, according to the research, people who had legally purchased their gun and then commit a crime do so after owning that same gun for 8 years. All right. So it's impossible. But these throwaway things that you throw out there and you're trying to go ahead and make something happen. And all it's going to end up doing is being ineffective. Okay. So again, when you do these things and you find out that it's ineffective, then you come back and you go, well, we have to do more. This is why I've told you before, when they go ahead and they go after, let's just say they're successful in getting rid of AR-15s, AK-47s, and similarly styled rifles, right? Let's just say that they get rid of those, okay? In spite of the fact that there are many rifles that are not on their proposed ban list that have the same fire rate, the same caliber, they just look different. That's it. You know, it's literally the same sort of a thing. It's just a different look. They go ahead and they successfully ban these weapons. Let's just say that they do that. Since almost no murders are committed with them every single year, we're talking about 300, between 300 and 400 every single year. Okay, sometimes it dips below 300. Are killed with all rifles. That's bolt action, AR-15s, AK-47s, all of them. Okay, about between 300 and 400 people. Okay, let's say you get rid of all of those, and let's say it works, and you reduce the number of shootings by 300 or 400 people. That's not going to satisfy anybody. They're going to come back and they're going to go, well, look, we banned long guns and that hasn't worked. They've just gone to handguns, so I guess we got to get rid of semi-automatic handguns now. So now you're stuck with revolvers or semi-automatic revolvers. And I don't know much about revolvers. It was a double action, I think it is. So they'll be all of a sudden they'll start going, okay, we got to get rid of these. I'm just going to say double action revolvers, and then pretty soon they're all the way back to black powder. They're going to go for everything that they possibly can. And you have to understand there is method to their madness of constantly advocating things that would not work. Because then they can say, we keep doing things, we keep passing new laws, and nothing works. We're going to have to get dramatic and drastic and make a serious effort here. That's the goal. The goal is to incrementally fail so that way they get everybody to buy into a big get, right? That could be a confiscation, a mandatory gun buyback, which is confiscation with compensation. So that's the goal. They know that what they're proposing isn't actually going to reduce the gun crime rate in the United States. They understand that they're not going to save that many lives. They understand all of this. They just want to, down the road, say, we got rid of this, we got rid of that, we did this, we did that. None of that helped, ladies and gentlemen. None of it helped. So we just have to get rid of them altogether. That's the end game. This is a long game for them. So taking away your due process, okay, so they can take your guns away without you actually doing anything illegal and there being no evidence against you, and then making sure that they incrementally pass things that they know will not be effective, so that way they can go for the big get at the end of the day, which is, of course, confiscation and revocation of your Second Amendment constitutional rights. We got more coming up. Newstalk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
This is Michiana's breaking news and weather station. MNC.
Woo, skittle daddle. All right, sup, Angel? Yeah, I don't know jack squat about revolvers, man. I don't know nothing about them. The single actions are the ones where you got to manually cock it, right? And the double actions are the ones where you just keep doing it like semi-automatic. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wasn't 100% confident on that. And as Alex pointed out, most revolvers are double action now, so you're going to go back to the old ones that they had in the Civil War. Which just means people are going to get real good at rapid firing those bad boys again. I know it's a lost art in the U.S., but I watched a video a couple of years ago where a guy who was rocking one of those old single-action revolvers outshot in bullets per minute a guy who had a semi-automatic. I mean, they're so friggin' fast when you know what you're doing.
We're in a situation where you have the top 1%, in fact, paying a lower tax rate than you do because it's mostly capital gains than more than a chief, a firefighter, a cop. It's ridiculous. Frontrunner Joe Biden on the fair's political.
Oh man, Joe Biden's pushing the old mythical capital gains tax bit. Rich people are paying a lower effective tax rate because most of their money comes from capital gains taxes instead of income taxes, and that's not fair to all of you. So let's raise the capital gains taxes and nuke all of your retirement funds. They never tell you that all of your retirement, your 401k and all of that, they never tell you that stuff is tied to your capital gains. Daniel, do I really think that they'll take our guns away from us? No, there will be a shooting war in the United States before Americans allow that to happen. But they will try. And that's the thing. You can't, that's what I was kind of explaining in this last segment. You cannot go for all the guns right off the get-go. Okay? Americans, by large numbers, support the Second Amendment. Okay? It's not even remotely close. The real question is they're trying to drive a wedge on some guns. Okay? And these guns happen to be guns that are not really used in crimes all that much, okay? But the crimes they are used in are high profile. So then they go ahead and they drive that little wedge. Well, all right, we can get rid of some of these over here. And then what ends up happening is, hey, look, we got rid of all of those, and, you know, we still have the same number of murders every year. The gun crime rate is exactly the same. So getting rid of those didn't help. So now we have to go after these. It becomes an incremental thing. And they always tell you, we're not violating your Second Amendment. This is what Pete Buttigieg said when he was a part of Mayors Against Illegal Guns, which, by the way, had a bunch of mayors convicted of illegal gun crimes. Mayor Buttigieg is out there, and he's telling you, I'm pro-Second Amendment. I just think you shouldn't have these types of guns, but I think you should have these types of guns. And as long as you can have guns, it doesn't matter what kind they are. The Second Amendment is not being violated. As long as you can own a firearm, you're okay. But we can limit what type of firearm it is, even though the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. Which, again, is a definition that people don't understand. So they're going to incrementally try and do it, but no, I don't think that they're ever going to be able to get there. You know, Dana Lash made a very, very good point the other day. God, was she on Fox and Friends or with Tucker? Might have been Tucker. And she said, isn't it interesting that they think that we can't get rid of 11 to 20 million illegal immigrants? That's too many people to deport. Way more guns in the United States than that. And yet they think they can confiscate all of the guns. So they tell you that there's too many people to deport, and yet they can confiscate all of these guns. Doesn't make any sense. It's a very good point. Your muzzle loader. I've been wanting a muzzle loader. Are they fun? I've been wanting to get one. Yeah, Tulsi, she is for gun control.
It's a good thing Matt secured his denture with Super Polygrip. Now he can enjoy the snacks as much as the game. It's that time of year when the family meets up. It's a good thing Jack cleans his denture with Polydent, so he can enjoy the whole day with confidence.
95.3 MNC, securing your financial future each and every Saturday morning with live money.
There's no doubt that this is an incremental strategy. No doubt about it.
We are here to talk about the latest money news and how it affects your pocketbook, savings account, or retirement plan.
They're a blast. Oh, that's funny.
Saturday at 9 on 95.3 MNC and wisemoneyradio.com.
When we say food with attitude, what we mean is the finest American-style tapas food in Michiana, surrounded by a craft beer, fine wine, champagne, and dessert list.
Yep, she does. She sucks on guns. Without a doubt. I should say she sucks on the gun issue, just so nobody takes that out of context. Because, after all, you are immature. Let's be perfectly honest. I love you guys, but...
Thursdays to check out Roman's ridiculous list, or upgrade your evenings Tuesdays through Saturdays with the atmosphere of Temple Grill. They're the perfect backdrop for any occasion. Reservations required. $21.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the hunting of deplorables yesterday. Little bit, not much. More like an honorable mention.
When I got my cancer diagnosis, I turned to Goshen Center for Cancer Care. I knew I'd made the right choice. At Goshen, I have a whole team of specialists all under one roof. They work together to share knowledge and monitor my treatment, which gives me more options than I'd ever imagined.
Here, I have doctors who take time to answer my questions and get to know my family.
Naturopathic medicine and counseling that nurtures my body and soul. And financial counselors who work with my insurance company.
Hold on, I gotta listen to this.
Like copay assistance.
Because all the Democrats are in Iowa for the state fair.
Personalized care and the attention of an
Part of the reason. Part of the reason it's on the front end. It all gets produced, and then part of it on the back end.
We grow these large amounts of commodities that go for fuel or for feed to livestock, which we should lessen corn. Cattle should not, ruminants are not designed to eat corn.
Right.
But yet, I would say we shouldn't get rid of, the Green New Deal says we need to get rid of cows. I don't agree with that because well-managed grassland where you rotationally graze, all these paddocks, like that system there has about 8 different paddocks. You're actually going to use more CO2 and sequester more carbon because of the regrowth all the time. And yet, that's a permanent pasture. So anyway, my point is we have become so
Fine. What's up, Finn?
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number 574-25-95-95.3. That is 2595-953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. All right. Let's see. Second Amendment Arms and Range, located in New Carlisle. Today is the Defensive Pistol Open League night. So go out there, hang out with some like-minded shooters, develop your skills and your camaraderie with other, again, like-minded shooters. Go to secondamendmentarms.net for more info. Casey, can we have a background check on people using the First Amendment? I want some of those journalist pens and mics taken away. You know what? This is interesting because we've made similar references to this in the past because you have the Bill of Rights, right? And the only one that requires you to jump through hoops to exercise your right in the Bill of Rights is the Second Amendment. It's the only one. It's the only one. And if you go back and you look at the quotes from the Founding Fathers, they were pretty crystal clear on this. Anybody who is free should own a firearm. And basically free being if you were not incarcerated, okay? If you were behind bars, you couldn't have a firearm, obviously. But once you were let go, you served your time, you're now free to own a firearm again. Now, they get a lot of gun groups. Remember, I mentioned don't like the NRA. The NRA was very instrumental in going along with the whole, well, if you've got a conviction, even though you're free right now, we're going to go ahead and keep firearms from you. That's a relatively new thing in American history, by the way. Let's see. I can see it now, Casey, trying to confiscate guns and have multiple Ruby Ridge incidents across America, minus the illegal possession part. Well, people have asked me on the live stream, hey, Casey, do you think that they're ever actually going to be able to take our guns? I said, there'll be a shooting war before that happens. But the idea is they want to get people kind of used to the idea of limiting their Second Amendment rights by doing this incremental stuff. You'll notice, again, rifles don't kill that many people. All right. They're not used in that many crimes in the United States. And yet they're going after those. There's really only 2 reasons. One, that would still be the most effective tool against government forces. God forbid something like that should ever happen. And I don't think that will happen in the near future. But, and then 2, they know it won't work. They know it's not going to get the effect that they say it's going to get, and therefore they can come back and go, see, it failed, we have to go for something else now, maybe semi-automatics. Because after all, semi-automatics didn't exist when the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution, even though they did. But they will say that because they don't know the history of all this stuff. Let's see. Back to the text messages. Casey, what about the mass stabbing in California? So, I posted about this early in the morning, like a 1 in the morning. Guy's stabbing spree kills 4 people in Orange County, California. Okay. Now, this is another thing that they don't want people to know. First of all, 60% of gun deaths in the United States are not gun violence. Okay. 60% of gun deaths in the United States are suicides. They're not violence. And then when you start breaking down the ones that are left over that are not suicides, you have to break it down by non-justifiable homicide. And because, again, they include all gun deaths, suicides, self-defense, homicides, all of that. You start breaking it down. The number of actual homicides with firearms in the United States is dramatically lower than the numbers that they proposed to everybody. So a 33-year-old man, he stabbed 6 people. 4 people died last night in Orange County, California. So if you go back in history, if you look at violent crime rates, okay, because again, you notice that the language they use is we need to reduce gun deaths. They don't care about reducing death. They just care about reducing gun death. So the UK gets rid of guns and their violent crime went up. Australia got rid of guns and their violent crime went up. Now, eventually they stabilized, although the UK is dealing with a surge of that in London right now. But London's also a really big city that's accepted a lot of third world immigrants in as of late. And again, they haven't assimilated into Western culture. And so there's going to be some differences there and there's going to be some problems. They don't want to acknowledge that. Sadiq Khan doesn't want to acknowledge that, but that is absolutely happening. But if you go back and you look at the history of Australia, there was a surge in violent crime shortly after the gun buyback happened. And then eventually kind of leveled off into the rates that it was pre-ban. And their crime rate continues to go down, just like the American crime rate continues to go down. But again, getting rid of gun deaths does not mean getting rid of death. And if you look at Japan gets brought up a lot. Well, in Japan, they use chemical weapons and fire a lot when they do these mass killings. In China, there's a ton of mass public killings that happen, and they're almost always with a knife. In many other countries, mass public killings, almost always with a knife. And, you get into a closed space and you get somebody with a knife. I mean, they can do a lot of damage very, very quickly. And people tend to panic more with a knife than they do with gun, according to research. Knives scare people more than guns do. And it makes people, when somebody's charging at you with a knife, psychologically, most people break down. They don't know what to do. Okay, with a gun, most people tend to have a reaction to go for the gun. With a knife, they don't know what to do. They just curl up into a ball and they basically just get stabbed. And hopefully they make it. So yeah, this guy, again, kills 4 people. That qualifies as a mass public killing and stabs 6. So 33 years old. We don't know his motivation yet. We're still looking into that. And but again, brings up the point. They don't care about reducing deaths. They care about the gun angle. It's all about that. And it's not the violent crime rate, not the death rate. It's all about guns. And again, they just want to get rid of firearms. That's the thing. There's this mythical notion that if you don't have a gun, you can't kill large amounts of people. The most devastating mass public killings in American history involved fire. One actually involved bombs. Well, actually, several have involved bombs, but I'm talking about non-terrorist related stuff. So if you go back in American history, I mean, some of the most savage ones didn't involve firearms at all. And, you can do a lot of damage by locking people in a building and burning it down. And there's nowhere for them to go. Anyway, 574-2595, 95.3. Take a phone call or two on this, and then we'll move on. Coming up on Newstalk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Casey Hendrickson.
Newstalk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Your breaking news and weather station.
Weather served up by the Prime Table Restaurant in Niles. Does your family or group meet regularly for breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
I sure wish I knew where that random zombie came from. Somebody's doing something to get that zombie to show up. And it doesn't say anybody's name. It doesn't say what they're doing. All right, I got to finish this Elizabeth Warren soundbite here.
Temperatures warming up to 83 degrees. Tonight we drop down to 58. There's a chance for some
Ignorant of the basic principles of biology in food production that we have said we answer them all through technology instead of
still warm up to about 84 degrees, but there is a chance for
Mother
showers
Earth
and storms during the late evening.
and having
Cools
respect.
down to about 80 for Monday with a mix of sunny clouds.
Basically, there's this farmer in Iowa, since all the Democrats are in Iowa for the state fair, and politicians have to talk at the Iowa State Fair anytime. Oh man, my mug! Somebody like jacked my mug. I've got a bunch of chips in my mug handle. Bastards. I'm choosing to blame somebody else, although it's probably me. So anyway, this farmer is sitting here and he's talking to Elizabeth Warren about the Green New Deal, and he's like, I mean, the Green New Deal calls for us to kill all the cows, and he goes, I don't agree with that. This is stupid. And she goes, eh. And he starts explaining to her how the grazing helps the land and actually reduces carbon emissions and that sort of thing. And he says, I agree, we shouldn't be feeding them corn because they're not supposed to be eating corn. And of course, corn is not exactly environmentally friendly. So he's basically saying, you politicians, you don't know anything about biology and how we do this. And she's like, eh.
Final Phase Electric has the tools and the experience to make your dreams a reality and can step in at any time.
Oh, these people.
With a level of unmatched precision that throws guesswork out the window. We believe in positive results through positive people, and we're positive that we can help you with your commercial or industrial project. One call does it all. 574-522.
Whoa, invalid credentials. I have not been logged out, you giant douche nozzle.
The guesswork out of your project and help you sleep easy.
I just lost my unified chat.
Things to do. Let us hook you up.
Well, that sucks.
Phase Electric on Facebook or visit finalphaseelectric.net.
Hi, I'm Betty, aka Allie's mom. Last year I told you that we love to replicate your family recipes for catering events and private parties. And boy, did you ever take me up on that challenge.
Man, all sorts of glitches this week.
And the proof is in the variety of dishes.
But a glitchy week, damn it.
Here are just a few examples. We got to replicate Grandma's hand loaf. We mixed up some jambalaya for a Mardi Gras fundraiser. We
All right.
cilantro rice and beans for a quinceañera, and pulled together an authentic Irish-themed wedding, complete with bangers and mash.
Oh, how I wish the kids would go back to eating Tide Pods again.
Prepared goat for an authentic African wedding. We built a reputation on the promise: anything, anywhere, anytime. That means if your event calls for something unique, we can make it happen. Wedding
Stab people on a dare, huh?
holiday parties, reunions, celebrations of life.
Well, we got the knockout game, Kathy, so I mean...
Partnered up with local venues to ensure that your day is special and perfect. Check out our full catering menu at alliescafe.com or ask your server when you stop in.
Imagine the damage a politician could do being forced to work on a farm, though, Alex. I know you're joking, but, I mean, they could do a lot of damage on a farm in a week.
Car company in Warsaw and South Bend with 600 vehicles to choose from and $2,500 minimum for your trade or an additional $2,500 for your hoopty, beater, clunker.
Thank you, Andrew, for the sub on YouTube. Appreciate that. Oh, Zachary on Facebook. Zach was out there at Elkhart Indian yesterday.
On my way to work, I passed 3 to 4 Indian motorcycles, and I figured they were either on their way to you or on the way to India.
They're, you know what, dude? I've seen a ton of Indian motorcycles lately. And it used to be a bunch of Harleys, and I'm seeing a ton of Indians lately. So, they are making an impact, for sure. Now, I was at the dealership yesterday, and they usually have a lot of used Harleys in there from trades. They didn't have that many Harleys there. It's like that dealership is just packed with new bikes right now.
95.3 MNC.com. From News Talk 95.3 Michiana's news channel, your breaking news and weather station.
Yibbity, yibbity. Yibbity, yibbity. Why is that thing so friggin' messed up on the call screener all the time?
I don't know.
Probably because it's 12 years old, too. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. If you're watching the live stream at youtube.com/Casey the host, please give me a thumbs up if you're watching the video. And don't forget to subscribe while you do so. I see that 47 of you are watching right now. I got 30 thumbs up. So I would appreciate if you could all just hit that little like button. It makes a big difference with the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and then hit that little bell icon next to it. That will allow you to get notifications of when we go live or I upload a new video or a podcast or something of that nature. And then if you choose, you can go on Facebook at Casey the Host and twitch.tv
at Casey the Host and watch the live stream there if you want to do that. 574-25-95-95-3. Just got done mentioning the stabbing that happened in California. Again, it's a mass stabbing. 6 people stabbed, 4 unfortunately were killed. Still looking for the motivation on that one. Jim, welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Yes.
What's up?
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to talk to him about the gun issue.
Yeah.
And I happen to be listening to a talk show in Detroit today, and a gentleman called in. He first of all didn't know the difference between the AR-15 and the AK-47 or anything, but one of the things was he said we shouldn't be allowed to have that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm driving in Detroit and I'm seeing Corvettes that'll run 0 to 100, in like 6 or 7 seconds. Who determines whether I can have that car or a Mustang that doesn't even do 20 mile an hour? It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any sense.
I wrote an article many, many years ago for Men's News Daily, and it was, are we breaking more laws or passing more laws? And it went with that same exact premise that, look, if we really were interested in preventing automobile deaths, we would have a governor set at 65 miles per hour, and no vehicle would be able to go over 65 miles per hour. Now, of course, you don't have a right to drive, right, Jim? It's a privilege. Right. So nobody could really pitch a fit about it. We all like our fast cars and everything. But if they were really interested in keeping people from speeding and keeping the roads safer, then they would not allow the manufacture of cars that go faster than 65 miles an hour, maybe 70 because of some of those rural highways. But they continue to do it. Why? It's a cash cow thing. And, we're a free country. And go ahead.
Well, one of the other things he mentioned was that he said because the fact that you're not taking your car out and killing somebody. I said, well, I don't take my AR-15 out and kill anybody either. So what you want to do is you want to punish everybody for the sins of 1 or 2 people. And I'm not discounting the fact that these people died. It's ridiculous, and the fact that this woman called in to the police station, but she said that to her attorney, but unfortunately she didn't have the courage to tell him the name. So what good does it do to call? You say see something, say something. She sees something, but she didn't say anything.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too, I'd have to look at the actual physical number. Okay, hold on a second. Let me pull it. Okay, so more people die in automobile deaths than die from illegal gun crime every single year in the United States. Okay, so, and again, first of all, the total gun deaths are around 40,000, right? And then 60% of those are suicides. And then you have to take out the non-justifiable homicides because those are self-defense. And in 2018, 36,750 people died. 2017, 37,133. 2016, it was almost 38,000, and so on and so forth. So again, your automobile is more likely to kill somebody than a firearm, and certainly way more likely than those AR-15s, which kill between 3, and again, all rifles, bolt action and ARs and everything included, kill between 300 and 400 people a year. So the idea that we need to get rid of those because they're causing mass death and things like that is such a farcical myth that it's so easy to debunk, but you've got these brainwashed oxygen thieves running around and telling you it's so powerful that it'll blow a hole in the back of your body that's the size of a basketball. No, it won't. There's a reason you're not allowed to hunt deer with them because they're not powerful enough. But they don't understand that because they don't understand ballistics. They don't understand firearms. They don't understand any of this stuff. And they're beholden to this fear mongering from these anti-gun lobby groups.
Yeah, it's crazy because I hear people all the time tell me, it's an assault rifle. Well, first of all, AR-15 is not an assault rifle. Correct. People that talk about these things don't even have a clue what they're talking about yet, but they're making headlines. Right. And what they ought to do is make every one of these people that are talking about it take a course. Take a course. I took a course, and like you said earlier, this is the only the First Amendment's the only one I got to pay money for. Yeah. They need to have I will tell you that the First Amendment has killed more people than any bullet ever has.
I got you. You're 100% right, though. You're 100%. Hey, Jim, I'm just out of time. Yeah, I'm out of time. Sorry, buddy. Appreciate it, but you're right. First Amendment has killed way more people than the Second Amendment has. That's undeniable. And I want to move on. I'm not going to do this all day, obviously, but, it obviously came up, and people asked me about the stabbings as well. More coming up next.
WTRC-FM and HD1. Niles, South Bend, Elkhart.
News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Your top stories right now.
Okay, I'm going to grab a warm-up on me coffee, and I'll be right back.
Mayor of Dayton, Nan Whaley, speaking alongside the Republican Ohio governor, again urging changes in laws aimed at helping to prevent mass shootings. President Trump getting pressure from both sides, the gun control issue. Fox's John Decker, live at the White House.
In the wake of two mass shootings in Texas and Ohio, the president is showing interest in backing legislation to strengthen background checks on people seeking to purchase firearms. But NRA CEO Wayne LaPierre has reportedly tried to talk the president out of supporting stronger background checks, arguing that to do so would hurt the president's standing with his core base of supporters. The House has passed two bills to require background checks on all private gun sales and increase the amount of time required to process a background check. But Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has refused to bring either measure to the floor of the Senate for a vote.
I have got to get a passenger seat and passenger pegs on my bike. Have to. Importante. I'm heading over to Twitch because I got to log in, manually because my unified chat isn't working again. 2 days in a row.
Texas gunman suspected of targeting Hispanics. It's not clear yet how many people remain detained in Mississippi. Wall Street.
Oh, Tracy's still number one with the cheers with the bits.
174 points at the closing bell. The NASDAQ up more than 2%. This is Fox News.
Speed does own multiple assault cars, by the way. He does.
MNC News Time 4:02. I'm John Zimney, the News Center. Among our top stories this afternoon, a man in South Bend was busted for counterfeiting after police saw him cutting up a
Hey, Speed, let me ask you a question. So I've got a prototype knife. Okay, I've got the files for the handles and the blade cutout. If I got you the materials, would you cut that out for me, just to do a prototype? Is that something you could do? Maybe like 2 or 3 of them.
As previously reported, Interlogic Outsourcing Incorporated is facing a lawsuit from KeyBank. Now their payroll clients are starting to speak out.
I haven't really done a lot on the Hong Kong stuff. I mean, if you wanted to bring it up tomorrow, I guess. I don't know. What did you want to know about it?
This leaves companies on the hook for thousands of dollars, which they had already technically paid to IOI. The concern for local companies is that if IOI files for bankruptcy, it could be a long time before they're able to.
You're right. It does depend on the state. In general, they're not considered a good deer rifle, though. But you're right. It does depend on the state. I don't know. I'm trying desperately to get into bow hunting. So if any of you are bow hunters and you want to take me under your wing this season, I'd love that. I just got to get my bow restrung. They don't have any peaches available? What happened to millions of peaches? Peaches for me, dude. What the hell?
Polar vortex.
Polar vortex? She's lump. That was a funny ass joke. Damn it. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? Shit. No clue! That was... Hopefully you guys got it. That was good. The whole story about how there's not enough peaches. I'm like, whatever happened to millions of peaches? Peaches for me. He says polar vortex. I said she's lump. Presidents of the United States. You don't know the band Presidents of the United States? That was the best live show I ever went to. They're not the best band in the world, but that was the best live show I ever went to.
Sign up now at 95.3MNC.com, your breaking news and weather station.
Personal growth is the continuous process of developing and understanding yourself to achieve your full potential. At Bethel University, we recognize the
Oh, really? On the Mike Braun bit.
faith-based approach to personal growth. Bethel is where students realize that your faith life and
I'm trying to get Braun on to talk about this other crap.
adults finish your degree and earn your MBA while focused on your personal and spiritual growth at Bethel University. Start with a transfer-friendly approach. Find credits for prior learning and even work experience. Set yourself up to finish faster and save money. Add adult classes only one night a week and finish courses in only 7 weeks. That's only
All right, so Braun, GOP should at least consider gun proposals. That's different. Hold on. Indiana Senator Mike Braun says he'll at least consider proposals to limit assault weapons and expand background checks. All right, that's a little different. He says that the House passed a bill requiring universal background checks goes too far, but he's supporting a red flag law, like those in Indiana and 4 other states, allowing family members to ask a judge to seize guns from a relative found to be dangerous. He says he'd consider going further as long as the checks don't interfere with law-abiding gun buyers. So he's given himself plausible deniability here. He says he's not dismissing the possibility of reviving a ban on assault weapons. He compares it to a ban on bump stocks used to convert non-automatic weapons to automatic. Let's see. He says he agrees with the president on the bump stock ban, by the way.
Taking cash out with a 30-year fixed mortgage might be the right solution for you. And for a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans.
He says Republicans, this is the dangerous statement. He says Republicans have to be willing to accept reasonable steps or risk getting stuck with laws they'd consider far worse. That is dangerous, dangerous, dangerous rhetoric. You've got to concede a little bit and give up some of your rights because what they do next time might be much worse. That's not acceptable.
This is Casey Hendrickson on News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel, your breaking news and weather station.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. Man, the Baltimore Sun sucks. They're a terrible newspaper. Really horrible people over there. I'll get to that in just a second. But first, I got to tell you about Second Amendment Arms and Range, located in New Carlisle. Buy all of the guns and buy them all now. Okay. By the way, you get a discount if you mention me. You get listener exclusive discounts on firearms. I can't even tell you what that rate is, but I can tell you that it is significant. So you can get a brand new firearm at Second Amendment Arms cheaper than anywhere else in Michiana, just because you're a listener of MWA. So go to secondamendmentarms.net for more information. All right. We know that the conservative group, there was more volunteers than I thought, ladies and gentlemen. I only saw pictures with like a dozen or so people. And what ended up happening is nearly 300 people showed up. I just didn't see all of the photos. So nearly 300 volunteers showed up in Baltimore. Again, this was spurred by Trump supporters, but it wasn't meant to be a political thing. Although, as an aside, it was. And 300 volunteers cleaned up a bunch of those neighborhoods. Now, again, this is in West Baltimore. This is in Elijah Cummings' district. This is an area that residents have said have been in, disarray for 50 plus years, and nobody had been really paying attention to them. Mayors had visited. They've basically said, we should tear this whole place down. There's been garbage dumping, huge rat problem in this portion of the city, even more so than the rest of the city, which has a massive rat problem. So there's a whole host of things. But now where things get interesting is the Baltimore Sun, who called the president a rat, instead of acknowledging that the president was being accurate in what he was saying about the city. And here's the deal. Your local newspaper, and I realize that it is very ironic that I am saying this, okay, given the local the status of local newspapers here. Your local newspaper should be an arbiter of truth for your community. In other words, if your community has major problems, that paper should be on the front lines exposing those problems. Because if that paper covers those problems up, then those problems never get fixed. If that paper continues to highlight those problems and brings attention to it and applies pressure on elected officials and community leaders, that is going to get the problem solved. People don't like reading awful things about themselves in the newspaper unless you're me, and then I find them funny. But I'm also a bit odd that way. So that's what a newspaper should do. Now, the Baltimore Sun, for many years, has covered the rat and crime problem in Baltimore. So this is where the other thing comes in. You can have community pride and still acknowledge that when somebody says something bad about your community, but it's true, you acknowledge that what they're saying is true. And the Baltimore Sun failed dramatically on that step with President Trump. The president, as we went over, everything he said about Baltimore, and especially Elijah Cummings' district, was 100% accurate, well-known, well-documented, and had never been considered controversial until he said it. Okay? So much so that people in Baltimore make fun of their rat and crime problem. Okay? So the Baltimore Sun comes out and calls the president a rat for highlighting that they have a rat problem. Instead of going, hey, you know what? You may not like the president, but he told the truth about Baltimore, and we have been telling you it for years, and nobody in our city has fixed the problem. And the Baltimore Sun has been covering it for many years. They have numerous articles on their rat problem, numerous articles on the high crime rates, numerous articles on the corruption of local politicians going back decades. So the Baltimore Sun covered those issues. Why did they get so bent out of shape when somebody outside of Baltimore came in and said all of these things that the Baltimore Sun themselves have been saying? And the only answer to that is because it was a Republican who said it. And there aren't many Republicans in Baltimore. So now you get to the conservative activists showing up, getting volunteers locally, coming from multiple states, 300 volunteers, removing toilets and chairs and tables and trash and weeds and all of this other stuff in West Baltimore. Okay. So this is WBAL TV. It's like their biggest local news channel there. Nearly 300 volunteers removed toilets, chairs, tables, spare tires, among other things, from piles of trash in a West Baltimore alley. The volunteers completely cleared out what was an impassable alley, making a real difference and a real dent in the condition of the neighborhood. Now, this is WBAL TV. Most of the volunteers don't live in the neighborhood. Many of them live in other states, such as Ohio and North Carolina. And nearly all of them heard about the cleanup from Scott Pressler, the organizer. I never intended it to turn into a national event. It was never supposed to be this big, Pressler said. Pressler, who said that he is an ardent supporter of Trump, is a grassroots conservative activist who has an enormous social media following. And he said one tweet last week launched 1,000 trash bags in Monday's effort. Now, Pressler, who also told the news outlet that the gathering was not meant to be pro-Trump or anti-Elijah Cummings, posted numerous photos and videos of the cleanup on his Twitter page, which we highlighted for all of you when they happened. Phil Yakuboski from WBAL also posted some of the photos and videos to his Twitter account. And by the way, did a good job doing it. And because when you see these, you can see that the effort is much more enormous than I had previously thought it was. Okay. So redstate.com writes, you'd think that the volunteerism would be appreciated for what it was, right? Well, it was to residents of the community, as Pressler's videos make clear, because they interviewed a lot of people from this particular community who were very thankful that citizens around the country were willing to show up and help them. But it wasn't by the liberal editorial board at the Baltimore Sun. Instead of devoting a significant amount of space on their website to praising the diverse group of volunteers for bringing the community together for positive change, they zeroed in on casting doubts on Pressler's stated motivations for organizing the event. In a condescending piece titled, "We assume it was pure motives that led a Trump supporter to launch a cleanup in Cummings district, right?" How many times have you heard me? Joe, you've been with me for what, 7 months, 8 months? How long have you heard me say, I don't care what the motivation was, I care that people do the right thing? Many times, right? I don't care what the motivation is. I really don't. Some people care about that. I think those people are petty. All I care about is that the right thing is done. The motivation behind it doesn't really bother me. Trying to get into heaven? Okay, cool. Trying to get a date with that hot girl over there? Okay, don't care. You trying to go ahead and get elected to office? Fine, doesn't matter to me. You're trying to go ahead and win graces with your family and get back in the family will because they're rich and you're not? Okay, fine by me. I don't care. I care that you're doing the right thing. That's it. Whatever motivates you, whether it is selfish greed or just a personal sense of satisfaction of having made a difference, doesn't bother me. The outcome is what I care about. You would assume that mature adults would feel that way most of the time, not them. The effort was organized by pro-Trump activist Scott Pressler. He claimed the event was not political. Yes, he was inspired to come by tweets from President Donald Trump describing the area represented by U.S. Representative Elijah Cummings as a rodent-infested mess, which is accurate. But the visit wasn't about showing support or animosity for either man, he said. Call us skeptical. Okay. Just for a second here, Baltimore Sun editorial board. If it was politically motivated, here's what the result of that political motivation was. People in West Baltimore who have been ignored by everybody, including you, got a cleaner neighborhood as a result of it. How many decades have you been reporting on this crap in your city where you didn't organize volunteers? The newspaper of the city doesn't get volunteers together. They didn't raise awareness. They didn't publish articles asking for people to show up and help local media personalities clean up these neighborhoods. They're reporting on the problem. But then what do they do after they're done reporting on the problem? They go home to their nice little, probably somewhat rural suburbs. Maybe they're urban suburbs, but they're suburbs nonetheless, in the non-west side of Baltimore. And they hang out with their friends, and they don't do anything about it. We wrote an article about it, and they go, oh, how sad. None of them bothered to go across town and actually help. And now you're ticked off that somebody did. And it might have been motivated by President Trump. You realize many Americans did not know that people in Baltimore lived in neighborhoods with that type of trash problem. They didn't know it. So when they saw it, many people were shocked that Americans in one of our more well-known cities had this problem, and it had not been addressed by one residence number 54 years. So Americans saw that. Yeah, sure, they heard about it because of President Trump, but they didn't go there because of President Trump. They went there because they saw Americans living like this, and it was unacceptable to them. If there was an aside that we're going to show people in West Baltimore that Trump and his supporters are not the racist, awful, horrible people that they think we are, we're going to show them that. What is wrong with that? That's what community outreach is about. That's winning hearts and minds, showing people, hey, look, the media and your politicians here might depict us as evil, horrible racists. We're not. And we don't want to see you live this way. And so we're going to clean it up. Yeah, so what? Who cares what the motivation was? They made a difference, whereas the local paper, who's been writing about these issues for decades, has never made a difference. And that's ultimately what they're pissed about. That Trump supporters made a difference in this neighborhood's life. An alleyway that was, according to WBAL TV, impassable, is now completely clean and free of debris. That's what the paper is ticked about. That President Trump got good people to show up and help these people in your backyard, Baltimore Sun, and you are never willing to do it yourselves. And you got shown up by it. Got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Wondering about the weekend? It's always in sight with the 5-day forecast
At 16 and 46 mornings and afternoons on 95.3 MNC. Casey Hendrickson.
News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Your breaking news.
And that's the thing that I said that earlier, Roland, on a post. You would think that if political motivation for all of this was really a big deal, you would think that Elijah Cummings would have addressed it. You would think that the previous mayors would have addressed it, that the local council members who represent those wards would have addressed it. But nope, they didn't. None of them felt that the political motivation was big enough for them to go ahead and help these people. They didn't give a damn. What a horrible, sad state of affairs in Baltimore. Well, and it should be a regular thing, Alex. That's just it. You know, sometimes in a community that is downtrodden like that, they just need to know that people care about them. And then they start caring about their community. And once you get it all cleaned up, all of a sudden you've got some pride, right? It's kind of like your car. Oh, my car looks like ass. It looks horrible. It looks terrible. You get the thing washed and detailed, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to keep this thing clean now. I'm going to make sure that I keep this car clean. And it almost always goes back to being dirty. But immediately there's that sense of pride that kind of kicks in that you didn't have when it was filthy. It's the same way with your community. When your community is filthy and crime-ridden, you don't have any pride in it, but the moment it's clean, we're not going to let it get that way again. And then people care.
Babbel's award-winning technology gets you speaking right away, whether you're learning Spanish, French, or German. And best of all, you'll remember what you've learned.
I always thought I was bad at languages, but after using Babbel, I can tell you I was just taught the
Fair
wrong
point,
way.
Kathy. How many cities are going to hope that Trump draws attention to this? And that was the thing, too. How many of those residents, because you had some local leaders go into that neighborhood, and those residents were thanking the president for drawing attention to this issue, because nobody outside of Baltimore knew that they were living like this. Nobody did. Z-Bard ad coming. Do I have a Z-Bard ad?
Conversational in a new language.
No, not this break. Take pride in your vehicle. It's like Baltimore.
That's Babbel. B-A-B-B-E.
In the 46 break, I got one?
Download the app
Nice.
to try it for free. That's Babbel.com.
Hi, this is Dwayne Miller with Good Faith Management, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and want to sell it fast and for a fair price, call me at 574-294-5678. I can pay cash and close in as little as 7 days. I buy houses in
Buckeye Andy from Goshen says, Casey, it's all about the results, not about how you start, but how you finish. You know, there's an old saying, that I heard about relationships and marriage. It doesn't matter where you get your appetite as long as you eat at home. Right? Same premise. Doesn't matter where you get the motivation to do it. It just matters that you do it. You do it the right way. Why is somebody sending me a Spotify link?
Call me at 574-294-5678 for a cash offer today. That's 574-294.
Oh, so they sent me a Spotify link for Tool? So there's a bunch of Tool songs. Was that not on Spotify before? I have many Tool songs in my Spotify lists. So I'm confused.
Many vehicles priced under $10,000. What's your Vector? Victor, today and tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Elkhart Municipal Airport, County Road 6, Elkhart.
Drinking coffee at night will not keep you up. However, drinking this at night will.
Ecstasy.
You know, as one of my listeners, Roland, mentioned on the live stream, if political motivation was all it took to clean up West Baltimore, then why didn't Elijah Cummings use any of that political motivation to go ahead and clean up his own constituents' districts? Wish I had an answer for you, ladies and gentlemen. I really do. Anyway, back to the phone lines. We have Tom. Welcome to the program. Good afternoon. Tom!
Hello.
Yeah.
I was sleeping.
Oh, I see. What's up, bud? How you doing?
Really good.
Holy smokes, you're alive.
I am alive.
Dude, where have you been?
Oh, sometime we'll talk about it. I mean, I almost dropped off the branch.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad you're still out there. We hadn't heard from you in so long. Producer Tim and I, when Tim was still here, we're like, man, we hadn't heard from Tom in forever. Well, I'm glad you're still with us, buddy. How are you doing?
I've been with you all the while. I just hit a bad place, and my health went down, and it just about was the last roundup. But I'm back.
I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad that you're recovering. What's on your mind?
Every day is a gift.
I hear you, man.
But on the Baltimore deal, these guys went in there and they didn't do anything that anybody else. They didn't have expensive equipment or anything else.
Yeah.
So it just shows the difference of the attitudes between the liberals and the conservatives.
Well, we were kind of talking about this before. You know how when you have a car and it gets really dirty and jacked up and, it's filthy on the outside, you got trash all over on the inside, and You hate getting in the car. You don't like looking at it. And then you get it detailed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it's like, I love this car. This car is great. You know, it's nice being in a clean car. I'm going to keep it clean from now on. Now, that doesn't always last, but, you know, it changes your perspective. It's the same thing with your bedroom. It's the same thing with your house. You know, and it's going to be the same thing in your neighborhood. If you live in a filthy, crime-riddled neighborhood, you're not going to have pride in it. But the moment it's starting to be cleaned up and other people are showing pride in your neighborhood, even though they don't live there, you've got to step up. And then all of a sudden, you care when somebody's littering in your neighborhood. And you take it very seriously and very personally. And it just changes the mindset of your attitude about your own community. So something like this could have a dramatic effect on West Baltimore and maybe other places. Maybe other places will look at this and go, hey, look, you know what? Volunteers cleaned up this portion of Baltimore. Why can't we clean up our own neighborhood? Let's go do it.
Nothing like showing an example to get things motivated.
Absolutely. You know, if you feel like you're alone and there's no reason to care, then you won't.
Right.
But if you realize that you've got people out there who do support you, regardless of their motivation, they're still helping you. And, you know, that sometimes is just kind of what it takes to get you to get out there and actually do it yourself.
Right.
You know, a lot of local residents, there's 300 people there. A lot of them were from other states, but a lot of local residents helped out. These are people who have lived there and haven't cleaned it up. And all it took was for some outsiders to show up and go, you know what? You deserve better than this, and we're going to help you.
Right.
So, well, I'll tell you what, man. I'm so glad that you're still out there, buddy.
Me too. It's fun listening to you, and this political thing has been an absolute riot. I never thought I'd live to see it.
Well, you know,
it's just amazing. So
there you
it's
go.
been a fun ride here.
It certainly has. All right, Tom. Appreciate it, buddy.
I'll be listening. So
all right,
take care of
you
yourself.
take care. You take
Bye.
care. I gotta tell producer Tim that Tom's still out there. Tom's a regular. He used to show up at all of our live remotes, and we didn't hear from him for a while. We were worried about him. Anyway, 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. Can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. All right. Let's see. So, Visa. All right. Visa is getting in the news today, and for a good thing, actually. I have some Visa cards. I'm sure that many of you have some Visa cards out there. So the CEO of Visa has promised not to block purchases of firearms. Now, this is a big deal because many other credit card companies have. Unlike other payment processors who have allowed themselves to become politicized, Visa CEO Alfred Kelly has promised not to block purchases of firearms made through the company. Asked if Visa would continue to facilitate firearm purchases, Kelly told CNBC, "We are guided by the federal laws in the country, and our job is to create and to facilitate fair and secure commerce," adding that Visa would continue to follow the laws of the land. Kelly emphasized that private companies should not be dictating what people can or cannot buy so long as it's legal. Amen to that. Where has this attitude been in commercial enterprise? The reality is that it's very hard for us to do it. If we start to get in the mode of being legislators, it's a very slippery slope. We shouldn't be determining what's right or wrong in terms of people's purchases. Agreed. Ajay Banga, CEO of MasterCard, also said that it wasn't the company's place to decide what consumers can purchase. Other payment companies like PayPal and Square have barred the purchase of guns via their platform, and knives and other things as well, by the way. Kelly's promise is crucial given that deplatforming, I guess that's one word now, deplatforming has now moved on to banks and payment processors, with conservative commentators and activists having their accounts shut down in some cases for having the wrong opinions. And again, there are a lot of conservative commentators who are not allowed to bank on certain platforms, even though they were not selling anything that would be illegal or restricted or anything of that nature, simply for what they are saying and their speech. That's all the reason that was needed to go ahead and ban them from being able to do banking. Now, by the way, a lot of those people are suing some of those companies, and I wish them the absolute best. PayPal, who I've given you my history with PayPal many times on the program, PayPal was sued by a bunch of us, and they lost. And yet they continue to facilitate the same policy that they lost a court case over. And it's honestly, this needs to be one of those things that is addressed by Congress. I wish that Congress would address it, but They just haven't really done so as of yet. I applaud them at least looking into social media, although we'll see what the final outcome of that is. But I sure wish that they would devote some attention on commerce, because you are supposed to be able to engage in free commerce, ladies and gentlemen, if it's legal. And these banks are not allowing people to do that. All right. So we just talked about how if your car is dirty and yucky and gross, you don't take pride in it, right? Take it to Z-Bar to South Bend. That's simple, okay? They're going to do an interior detail on that thing. They can do an exterior detail on that thing. And your vehicle is going to look better than it did coming off of the showroom floor, especially if you get ceramic Z-Gloss paint coating, if your vehicle qualifies for that. Now, we got that on our minivan. Our van looks brand new every single day. It's always shiny, wet looking. It's got a deeper shine than it had when we got it at the dealership. It's just phenomenal looking. Plus, the maintenance of it is much easier. It's going to protect the paint from scratches, and it's going to be impact resistant. It's just a great product. And of course, when you get those details, we've talked about that before, it just makes your vehicle seem like it's an all-new vehicle. You're happier driving it. Nothing is worse than being in a filthy, rotten, disgusting, smelly car for hours on end every single day. Get an interior detail at Z-Bart of South Bend. Let them know that I sent you. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to enjoy being in your vehicle a whole lot more. Again, Z-Bart of South Bend. Let them know that I sent you. We've got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
This is Michiana's breaking news and weather station.
Boopity 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 boop. Burp, 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 burp. My double chin's almost gone. Almost. Very little squish there. Very little. You know it, Kathy. Had to slip that bad boy in there. That's what she said. Anyway. Sam has never owned a new car. You can get a used car and make it seem like a new car at Z-Bar to South Bend. For real, though. My wife was so friggin' giddy when I got that detail on our old SUV. She damn near lost her mind. Speed, while I have time, did you answer my question about the knife prototype? Since you're right there, and I can see your comment. I can see it. Right there, man. Me? I can't stop being creepy, dude. It's who I am. It is who I am. I'm watching you. I'm watching you. Your car detail from Z-Bar will leave it cleaner than Baltimore. That's funny.
Would you like to
Does your vehicle feel like West Baltimore inside? Go to Z-Bar to South Bend. Oh, man. Savage.
Would you, the PayPal gun thing, are you taking calls on that, Casey?
Yeah, somebody wants to talk about it, sure.
All right, can I get your first name then, please, man? Can I get your first name? All right, Mike, we'll try to get you on there.
Somebody just walked over my grave. Got the chills. Not just Tanya Powers, Tanya J. Powers. Okay, so I've been watching that new Prime series. I actually finished the full season. The Boys, that's that superhero show. Good. Really good.
I heard the source material wasn't very good.
You know, it's...
That's what I've heard.
First of all, it's entertaining. It's not designed to be high quality. The premise of it is... It's not hokey low quality, but it's not blockbuster quality, right?
Because the source material came out around the same time that Watchmen and...
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I wasn't real familiar with it, but...
Not Injustice, but it's the future, and the heroes are old and everything. Kingdom Come.
Okay.
So it all came out in the dark, gritty, superhero, experimental era. And I heard that it came out because it was just like the trend in the source material. But that's just what I've heard. So.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, The Boys on Prime is a superhero series that is based on what people think real superheroes would actually be like. They'd be celebrities, they'd be famous, they would do all sorts of illegal crap, and they'd have managers and publicists, and it would be covered up if they did anything illegal, and really just them abusing their powers while still also doing good. You know, they would just be who they are, and then occasionally they would, you know, hurt innocent people, whether by accident or purpose, but it's a really interesting take on it. I enjoyed it. Totally enjoyed it.
I've heard that it's got some funny moments too. So.
Oh, weird. The guy with the overly Protestant-sounding name disappeared from the live chat. Where did that guy go? Those radical Protestants, man. Oh, hey, I did it. Don't be thanking Alex. I did it.
What did you do?
Put his ass in timeout. I don't take no Al-Qaeda operatives on my live stream, man. Because I'm like anti-throwing people off of roofs. You all suck. I did it. Alex didn't do it. I did it. And they're all crediting Alex. Thank you for the sub, David Smith.
Baseball season is in full swing.
Although, okay, so that was a sub. So for some reason the sub alert box isn't functioning properly. Interesting.
It's that time of year when the family meets up.
We hit it at the same time, did we? Funny.
Jack cleans his denture with Polydent so he can enjoy the whole day with confidence.
My name's Dave Titus. I'm with RV in Elkhart, Indiana. You know, one of the things that we see people.
Thank you, Andrew and Kathy and Mike. Finally got some acknowledgement.
Do you feel validated, Marcus?
No, not really. Not really. I don't feel validated. Thank you. Damn it. I guess Alex did it too at the same time. But that's why Alex is there, in case I'm in the middle of a segment and somebody tries to throw gay people off of a roof on my live stream.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
What?
I love when people do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, his name is Hassan Sheikh, so I just assume he's an Al-Qaeda operative.
Yeah.
He didn't give me any reason to think that he wasn't. He seemed to really not like gay people, so I assumed that he's a roof tosser.
Bigots and
I call him roof tossers. Roof tosser.
That's fine.
Based on his Protestant name. Yeah.
Super Protestant. Oh man.
Those radical Protestants, man. Gotta look out for them.
One of my friend's moms, because they were asking me about my other job, my friend. She's like, "Oh, where do you work?" I work here. And then like, do you still work at the station? I'm like, yeah. She's like, "Oh, what station?" I'm like, "Oh, I work for Federated Media and I produce for a couple stations." She's like, "Oh," and I was like, "She's like, what's Federated Media?" I'm like, so I listed off a few of the stations I got to MNC. And she's like, "Oh, I love that station. I listen to them all the time." I'm like, "Do you listen to KC?" She's like, "Yeah, I listen to them all the time." I'm like, "I'm Communist Joe." And she went, "No, you're not." I went,
That's
"No, I'm
funny.
legitimately Communist."
That's funny. Mike says I'm profiling. Damn it.
I love filing things too, so I guess I am also pro filing.
Yeah. I you know, look, I would stop and frisk him, but I think he would enjoy it. And I think that would conflict with his radical view of the world, so. No golden snowflake today, ladies and gentlemen. It's not happening. Oh, God. Me? A xenophobic bigot? No way. Protestants are white. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to Sock 95.3. That was good, though. Finally cracked a joke that Joe understood.
574-25-95-95.3. That is 2595953. I want to thank Second Amendment Arms and Range, helping Americans arm themselves against terrorist scum since, well, they were founded several years ago. Go to secondamendmentarms.net. Of course, mention me, get half off your range time, 10% off your supplies in the store, and listener-exclusive discounts on firearms. secondamendmentarms.net. All right, somebody wanted to chit-chat about the evil corporation known as PayPal. Mike, welcome to the program.
Yeah, I'm getting my radio.
Yeah, what's up?
I had a question about that. I just woke up. He mentioned something about the PayPal.
Yeah.
Let me play the devil's advocate here for a minute.
Okay.
You know how, like,
Well, if you stick up for them, you are the devil.
Make a cake for gay weddings and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of along the same lines? If we get PayPal to do business with everybody that, you know, without restriction, there is that going to backfire on, say someone like a baker wanting to, you know, not make a cake for a gay wedding?
Right. I get what you're trying to say, but here's the problem with that logic. They're already forcing bakeries to do that. So we should force PayPal to do it as well. And then if PayPal wants to go down that route where they want the right to refuse service, then we need to say, well, then, okay, public accommodation wouldn't apply to you, and therefore it shouldn't apply to anybody else.
Okay. I see.
I get what you're saying, though.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for gun, Second Amendment, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all for freedom and liberty.
Yeah. Well, my issue with PayPal is that, I didn't violate their terms of service. And yet they still shut my business down for 6 months. And they held
the nature of your business.
Yeah, they just didn't like it. And I actually, so at one point in time, they suspended my account because I was selling tactical gloves, and they didn't like that tactical gloves had hard knuckles. Okay. Then they said, we don't like that you're selling certain types of knives. And I said, but I've never processed any of those sales through PayPal because I used another payment processor. So I never violated your terms of service. And they said, well, you're still selling them and we don't want them. So I took them off of the website. And then the final time that they actually ended their relationship with my company was because I had a Tumblr blog at the time, and the Tumblr blog had posts on it about guns and knives. Now, they're not affiliated with Tumblr. They have no relationship with Tumblr. No transactions were happening on Tumblr. Nothing was being processed through their service. I didn't violate any of their terms of service. And they issued a demand that I take down 3 blog posts on Tumblr, or else they were going to go ahead and end their business relationship with me. And then what they did,
Do you need PayPal?
No, I don't need PayPal anymore. No, I went with I went with a better payment processing service, but it cost me a heck of a lot more money to do business now because of that. And then they closed my wife's PayPal account. My wife is a photographer. And do you know why they closed my wife's PayPal account, Mike?
Because you're related.
Because we're married. Mm-hmm. That's it. She had never done anything that violated their terms of service at all, and they shut her down. So, yeah, and they were sued. We all won, and they still have that same policy. So, yeah, they're the devil, and screw them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. Because it used to cost me just a percentage per transaction, and now I have about $80 a month that goes out just to have the ability to take payments. So they've put a huge dent on my profit line.
I mean, I like PayPal, but now I'm really angry at them.
Yeah, they suck. They're terrible. But if you're not in any of those so-called controversial businesses, you'll be okay.
Well, yeah, tell them I believe in guns and the Second Amendment and everything else.
Just don't write a blog post about it, and you'll be fine.
Oh, I don't write blogs, but I comment a lot on other websites.
Oh, be careful with that. Be careful.
First Amendment, freedom of speech.
I hear you, man. All right. I appreciate it, bud.
All right.
Take care.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. The final straw. I think they held my funds for 120 days. So we were shut down for a long period of time. We couldn't get a payment processor. Finally found a payment processor. And so I had to use authorize.net. So I have to pay every single month for authorize.net. And then I had to pay for the payment process. It's a mess. And it cost me a lot of money to be able to have the ability to do that, whereas I shouldn't have. to pay all of that money because I never did violate their terms of service. Like I said, they went after my wife's company and everything else too. It's stupid stuff. If you have somebody flagrantly violating the rules, and as a platform, you don't want somebody processing transactions, of a certain type. Okay, whatever, your insurance, I get it. There's liability issues. But at the same time, if you're just going after people because you don't like what they're doing, then you should be forced to abide by the same public accommodation rules that bakeries and photographers have to abide by. So if you bake wedding cakes, you've got to bake wedding cakes for a same-sex couple. All right. If you provide financial transactions, you have to provide financial transactions for everybody who's doing a legal transaction. Period. End of story. That's just the way that I feel about it. Now, if we're going to start letting people pick and choose who they do business with again, like, we used to do in America, then come back to me and talk to me about PayPal. But until then, screw them. I hope they go out of business. We got more coming up. Newstalk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Casey Hendrickson.
News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Normally, I would tell you that you have to read.
What?
Normally, I would tell you that that you have a Z-bar.
I don't need to, man. I already did it. I'm proactive. I am proactive like that.
Now, home comfort experts, your air conditioning professionals, 5-day forecast.
Back to dry and sunny weather that will...
There's a flipped over car on the US 20 westbound. Where, Robbie? Where? Kathy asked that too. I just need to know an approximate.
Really busy road that's really long.
Well, it's...
But it's in this one direction, so that's like half.
Robbie's going to get back, man. He's going to take care of it. I got faith in Robbie, man.
Did you tell me hi when I walked in today? Or was that John? I haven't seen you. Michiana's news channel.
Yeah, screw you, Joe. He hasn't seen you. What up?
Where at?
What am I?
I forgot to mention.
Where at on the
So, Second Amendment, he's going to be doing themes to their events.
Okay.
Thursday.
Is goat humping one of them?
Goat humping will never be a thing.
I tried, folks. I tried. We had a terrorist on the live stream a few minutes ago.
All right. And he's probably proficient in goat humping. So.
Yes.
Alrighty. Thank you very much,
tonight is home defense. So they're going to be doing some scenarios and stuff.
So that's the defensive league?
Yeah,
it's just before Capitol, the accident.
So that defensive pistol league, they're going to be doing home defense. Home self-defense is their theme for tonight.
I'll
keep you in the
loop. Keep me a list of that so I can go and promote
things come up. Because he's talking about stuff like what to do at the ATM when you're just taking money out, what to do if you're shopping and something,
shoot everybody.
Yeah.
Is having skill and knowledge.
So he's going to be doing some themes, and then there will be some fun stuff toward the holidays, like rabbit, turkey, shoot,
nice.
A Halloween shoot.
Have like a crazy turkey.
Evil Santa. There will be all sorts of fun. All sorts of fun stuff.
Santa did not get permission to come into my house.
I also didn't get permission to spy on.
Hey guys,
this is America. Yeah, he's wiretapping everybody. What the hell?
Yeah, he's also like sneaking into your house and watching your children and all this other really creepy shit.
All right, so it's by Capitol.
But in the last few years, he has struggled.
Flipped over car, US 20 westbound by Capitol.
Then one day he came home and gave me a night I will never forget.
Actually pretty fun.
He told me about the secret formula,
looks like you really are on a
changed
table
our life in the bedroom.
Yeah,
once and for all.
the simulation.
Well, and they should have done that crap with Yu-Gi-Oh years ago too. Would have made it a lot easier to play that damn thing.
Like one that's actually made by Konami.
Yeah,
but it's called YGO Pro, and you have access to every single card
how to get a free bottle of Notch
See?
You can play. Last. Call 1-800-551-4182. That's 800-551-4182. Free bottles for a limited time, so call now. 800-551-4182.
I know, that's some bull crap. That's where, dude, people just want the computer to tell them how to play.
Wizards has one for Magic, and they're starting to make formats for it and producing stuff in real life for it. Michiana's news channel. Would you like to talk to KC?
So, Kathy, is that the US 20 thing?
When you're purchasing something that is of good quality, it can literally last you as long as you want to own it.
Just before Capitol westbound.
A little more classic.
All right.
Are both lanes jacked?
Are both lanes jacked?
Are both lanes jacked? both directions. I mean.
So when someone comes in, we're not trying to. Oh, you need to buy this because I need to make my commission for a month or for that. We actually are more interested in right. I would rather somebody leave to buy something they're not happy with, or feel that they were pressured into buying something they didn't need or want. Come to see Kramer Interior.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, sir.
Westbound closed, eastbound slow.
Yeah, they have basically both lanes blocked off, and the westbound pretty well.
Yeah, Kathy says westbound's closed, eastbound is slow.
The
All right.
emergency vehicles just got there.
Okay, so 20 bypass. Traffic is backed up just east of the Michigan Street US 31 South exit. Add that in here. So has it. Bum 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 bum. Really? Name of the song is Drive by Incubus. But you're not driving on the bypass right now because it's messed up. Pretty serious accident. Both eastbound and westbound traffic is backed up just east of the Michigan Street US 31 South exit. And again, there's an accident. Vehicle hit a construction vehicle. I hear that it's flipped over and that westbound is closed and eastbound is slow. So avoid the bypass. And as people are saying, basically the bypass and Capitol, just avoid that. If you can, because again, westbound closed, eastbound is slow. Just avoid it, and you won't get stuck in all of that. 574-25-95, 95.3. That is 2595953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. Speaking of crazy social media censorship type stuff, the White House apparently is preparing a possible executive order revolving around social media's anti-conservative bias, according to a report. Okay, now this is according to Politico. All right, so you take it with a grain of salt. Politico claimed that a White House official stated if the internet is going to be presented as the egalitarian platform, and most of Twitter is liberal cesspool of venom, then at least the president wants some fairness in the system. But look, we also think that social media plays a vital role. They have a vital role in an increasing responsibility to the culture that has helped make them so profitable and so prominent, the official said. That's a quote, by the way. I wasn't just reading like some blog post. That was a quote. They have a role, if not a responsibility, to monitor the content on their sites to ensure that people are not threatened with violence or worse, and at the same time to provide a platform that protects and cherishes freedom and free speech, but at the same time does not allow it to descend into a platform for hate. Again, what is hate? Every time that caveat is put in there, you have to remind people that they say relatively benign things are hateful. That's the issue. For example, calling somebody a clown is now considered racist by this liberal Democrat yesterday who said that, which means, which I found to be hysterical, because the number one name that I am called by liberals locally on the stupid message forums that hate my guts is a clown. So you're all white supremacists now. Congratulations, every single one of you. I don't make the rules, I just play by them. Another White House official reputedly told Politico the president announced at this month's social media summit that we are going to address this, and the administration is exploring all policy solutions. Politico noted that one potential approach could involve using the government's leverage over federal contractors, a tactic that Obama used to advance LGBT rights. A 2014 executive order prohibited federal contractors from discriminating against workers on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. In late July, the Wall Street Journal reported that the Justice Department had launched an antitrust review of technology firms, including Facebook, Google, and Apple. The Journal also wrote at the time, the review is geared towards examining the practices of online platforms that dominate internet search, social media, and retail services. The Attorney General William Barr was quoted as saying, I don't think big is necessarily bad, but I think a lot of people wonder how such huge behemoths
that now exist in Silicon Valley have taken shape under the nose of the antitrust enforcers? It's a good question, by the way. You can win that place in the marketplace without violating the antitrust laws, but I want to find out more about that dynamic. And again, there's always some very interesting things to discuss when we talk about Facebook, Google, and that sort of thing, because, Twitter is thrown into that. You take Facebook and Twitter, for example, they're protected by the government from liability. And they're protected from liability by being a platform and not a publisher. Because again, if they're a publisher, then they can regulate content. If they're a platform, then content has to go out. And as long as the content is not illegal, they have to allow it. If they're a publisher, they can censor content. But if you're a publisher and have the ability to censor content, as they claim to be, then you can be sued when content is published. If you're a platform, like they also claim to be, then you can't censor people, and therefore you have no liability about what is published on your platform, and you can't be sued. So there's a protection there. But they have been getting protections from both. So again, right now, Facebook is involved in two separate legal cases. In one case, they are claiming that they are a platform, and therefore they have no liability, like a publisher would. But in the other case, they are claiming to be a publisher and have a right to censor and publish whatever content they want. You can't have it both ways. You're one or the other. You can't be both. So they have to, they've been skirting the laws. They've been protected by Congress. And that's something that should not be happening, right? And if nothing else, we have to force Facebook and Twitter and other social media platforms to pick one or the other. And are you a platform? Which means as long as the content is legal, whether you like it or not, you have to allow it to be published. Which means, by the way, that people are allowed to publish racist things. Okay? You're going to have to accept that you're free to be a bigot in the United States of America. Makes you a pile of human garbage, but you're free to be a bigot. If you are going to be a publisher, okay, you can censor people. You can censor content. If you don't like what the content is, you can absolutely delete it and censor. But now you are susceptible to lawsuits. So you're going to have to figure out which one you want to be, and that's it. You can't have it both ways. But Facebook right now in two separate cases is arguing both, and that's not fair. It's not right. Twitter's done the same thing, and eventually they're going to have to pick a side. The government may have to force that decision, and I would tend to think that they're going to want to be a platform because they don't want to be sued. And again, that kind of takes away their power and everything else. Doesn't really help with Google in any way, shape, or form. In late June, the Daily Wire reported that social media platform Twitter announced on Thursday that it will be rolling out a new program to label certain politicians vitriolic tweets, allowing those lawmakers to stay on the site, but warning users to remain skeptical of their content, which is basically saying this is a legitimate person, but what they say is not legitimate. So they're trying to be fact checkers. And if we've learned anything about Twitter over the years, that Twitter is probably the worst possible fact checker you could ever have. They are terrible at it. And they are extremely biased. They are so biased that they openly admit their bias when people are interviewed at the higher echelons of Twitter, including Jack Dorsey himself, who runs Twitter. They admit that they have been discriminatory against conservatives, that they have acted too aggressively against many on the political right. They've admitted this in the public square, and yet they still run around and go, we don't censor anybody. But we have your top two officials saying that you have. So which one is it? I said I've been shadow banned on Twitter forever, which is why losing Twitter and being banned on Twitter isn't really a big loss for me. Just because every time I'm not shadow banned, I know it because my followers go up by thousands. And then the moment I'm shadow banned again, the followers get taken off. And I said, it's all organic stuff. I don't know what's going on, but they refuse to verify me, even though I made all of their qualifications. I meet their qualifications a heck of a lot more than other people are verified on there, and they won't do it. So my, Twitter banning me here recently isn't a big loss for me. I went over to Parler, and Parler's been great. So they're going to have to pick. Are they a publisher or a platform? And the government can absolutely force that decision. So it'll be interesting to see if there is an executive decision here by the president and what that executive decision is. So keep an eye on that. Look for that to maybe break late tomorrow evening. We've got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
WTRC FM and HD1, Niles, South Bend, Elkhart.
You know what time it is? Steak time! Want some steak? Need some steak. I need it.
The Democratic presidential hopefuls in Iowa today. Few stepping up to the microphone already.
Oh, starting to feel it. Hunger.
That's a bad thing to tell me I got more time to speak.
In a 20-minute pitch, Biden repeated his characterization. The upcoming election is a fight for the
Okay. I forgot to label my hours.
He encourages them, everything he does, he speaks to them. He's afraid to take them on.
Biden running for president for the third time.
As smooth as my nipple hair.
He's worked on his whole life. At the Iowa State Fair in Des Moines, Jared Alpern, Fox News.
I don't know if it's smooth or not. I haven't checked it.
Using racism as a weapon.
Could probably ask my dog.
The Trump administration facing great criticism of its immigration policies after raids on food processing plants in Mississippi.
I'm in a mood, folks.
Detaining nearly 700 workers, though about 300 have since been released. Some of their children were in school at the time.
ICE officials said they tried to make every effort possible to make sure.
Oh, some of their kids were in school when the ICE officials arrested the criminals who've been breaking the law. Can't do that. So if you rob a bank, make sure you do it outside of school hours, okay? Because it's not fair for you to be arrested if your kid is in school.
Of the suspect in a deadly stabbing spree yesterday. He's 33-year-old Zachary Castaneda, described as a documented gang member. He's accused of killing 4 people, wounding 2 others, and apparently random attacks in 2 cities. Police say he has a violent criminal record and has served time in prison. This is Fox News.
This is Michiana's breaking news and weather station. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel, and 95.3 MNC.com.
I'm John Sidney.
Well, yeah, they'll always find a way, Pradith. They will always find a way to harass people. This whole we have to do something thing, man. It just gives politicians excuses to do a bunch of crap that they're not supposed to do. You what? You don't know the? Do you need the link to the server? Do you need that? Do I need to give you another link to the server? Let me log in. I'll give you a link, and then you can join. Yeah, gamers use Discord, but anybody can use it. It's like a message forum. It's just I control everything, so it's my server.
Bimbo Bakeries has issued a voluntary
Bimbo
recall for Entenmann's Little Bites.
Bimbo Bakeries.
And the 5-pack mini chocolate chip variety.
Gotta admit, that sounds amazing, boss.
Blue plastic pieces found in
Alright, invite people. I keep meaning to talk about this dude who dressed up as his daughter to try and get out of prison. Ooh, Speed Demon. You got the 1 bit. Hold on to that second place, buddy. You can do it. Casey, PayPal can be used to get an escort, but not a gun. How effed up is that? How do you know? You can use PayPal to sell guns, you just can't have a website. Because if you have a website and your payment processing is through PayPal on your website, they will review your website, and if they don't like your content, they'll shut it down. So,
In the ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Hood.
oh crap, what was I doing? Oh yeah. So yeah, Pradith needed the Discode link. Bam!
I feel like that's like the name of
News Talk 95.3 Michiana's
Join the horde, man.
Hard. Yeah, Cartman's mom.
I forget her name.
Or if her name's ever
Next to your house.
Cartman's mom? I'm pretty sure it is.
Investments. And it's important to
her
retain
husband says it at some point.
She's not married.
new wheels and suspension. And they even changed out a
I
light
thought
bulb.
Cartman's mom was married.
Nope.
No,
Leanne.
It's the other. It's the.
Cartman's mom is a hoe.
It's the Jewish one.
Oh.
Mom.
Gotcha.
Well, no, like she's married. Like I'm just thinking one of them's married, and I don't know which one it is. Because I've only seen like 2 episodes of it.
I think
and
Cartman is the
played
only
TV
one who's
on it.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Stan and Kyle's mom. Kyle is the Jew.
It's the dad who's like always into weird shit. His one. That's one.
Okay, so Stan's dad is... That's, oh god, is it... It's not Ron.
Parkwood Auto Spa in Mishawaka and South Bend. And online at Parkwood Auto Spa.
Stan's dad is the one that's a major character.
That's the one I'm thinking.
Yeah. Kyle's dad is a lawyer. He's a Jewish lawyer. And his mom is like a really fat lady. Really abrasive. Randy Marsh. Randy Marsh is Stan Marsh's dad, who had the world record turd. God, that was a great episode. Such a good episode. I had one of those moments with Bree the other day. Damn thing stuck 2.5 inches out of the toilet, man. It was massive. She called me. You gotta see this. Yeah. Right off the old block.
To lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com. For JD Power award information, visit JD Power.
Yeah, Comet. So he tried to get out, and then he was found hanging in his cell. No problem, Pradith.
From the Final Phase Electric Studios. From the first step to the
Yeah,
final phase.
P.F. Jenks. I love that damn show.
Your breaking news and weather station.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. There is a flipped over vehicle, which may be right side up now. I'm not sure, but it was flipped over on US 20. Now, that was westbound. And the westbound traffic, this is right around Capitol, okay? So eastbound traffic is slow. Westbound traffic was done. They were shut down a little while ago. So this is a really bad accident. Again, US 20 westbound right around Capitol. Just avoid that if you can. 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. Casey, PayPal, you can use to get an escort, but not a gun. How do you know that? Are you buying or selling? Both? I'm throwing it. Yay, I'm just throwing it out there. But by the way, I have Square. I enjoy Square, and Square hasn't bothered me, although officially Square does not allow you to sell the type of stuff that I sell, but I don't have them linked to my website. So if I do personal transactions and things like that, they're okay with Kydex holsters and stuff. So they haven't really bothered me. So I've been okay with Square, but I know other people who have not been okay with Square. Like I said, there aren't. So you've got Stripe, PayPal, Square. Those are the 3 big free mobile payment processors. Well, you got Venmo now. So you can use Facebook and you can use Venmo. But as far as the legit payment processors that businesses use, Square, PayPal, Stripe, okay? And none of them allow you to conduct Second Amendment business. None of them. So, again, I keep telling people this because there are payment processors out there who will, and they understand that they're few and far between, and they charge an arm and a leg to be able to do that. If somebody were to launch a Square-like system that was Second Amendment friendly, where they only charged per transaction and they didn't have a monthly fee or any of that, there's no exorbitant fees or anything, I'm telling you right now, there would be a ton of money flowing to that company if they would just do it. You know, send out the little card reader, you can plug into your phone or your tablet or whatever. I'm telling you right now, people would gravitate to them like you would not believe. You've got to make it WordPress compatible, since so many people are running e-commerce websites on WordPress. If you can do that, you will be rich. Filthy, stupid, rich. But you've got to be willing to do it. And if you're not willing to do it, then get out of the way. But I'm telling you, there is a huge market for that if only somebody would actually do it. All right, speaking of guns and snowflakes, Walmart workers. That's right, Walmart workers. They got something else to complain about. Let's see, they weren't getting paid enough, so they got a pay raise, and then several of them lost their jobs because of the pay raise, and then they complained about losing their jobs, even though they were warned that that was going to happen. And now Walmart corporate employees are set to walk out over firearm sales. Walmart employees are planning to walk out of corporate offices on Wednesday over the company's firearms sale policies. Offices in the People's Republic of California and Oregon will be partaking in the protest, which follows the El Paso Walmart shooting that left 22 people dead on Saturday. How many Walmart employees walked out in protest when that police officer came in and shot, was it John Crawford, I believe was his name, in that suburb of Cincinnati, who had bought a pellet gun at Walmart, and somebody called the cops and said that he was running around shooting kids. So the police showed up and just shot him, even though he didn't do anything wrong. He just was buying a pellet gun and was on the phone, minding his own business, and the cop came in and just blasted him. You remember that? There's no protests over that. There's no anger over that. I think it was me for weeks talking about it, and then there was like one NFL player who drew attention to the story. Nobody else cared. And that happened at the same time as one of the big protest stories. I don't remember which one. I have to go back and look at the date. I don't think it was Mike Brown. I think it was one of the other ones. But yeah, that's an actual innocent black man who was gunned down for no reason because of some sniveling little toot who was fear-mongering and everything else. And I wanted the guy who called the cops to be arrested because he's the one that caused that problem. Walmart employees didn't walk out over that. He was shot to death in a Walmart. He was killed in a Walmart. And that officer broke the law, never got punished for it. That officer never asked him to surrender, never gave him an opportunity, just came right around the corner and shot him to death. And the guy never even saw the cop. Never even saw him, wasn't looking at him. Cop just came around the corner, blasted him. That was it. Offices in California, Oregon will be partaking in the protest, yada, 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 yada. The white-collar workers demand that one of America's largest retailers cease gun sales, even though Walmart has regulated them since 1993, according to the Washington Post. Retail chain stopped selling handguns in 1993, ceased sales of assault-style weapons in 2015, and changed its store policy to increase the age to 21 for those who want to purchase firearms in 2018, according to the Washington Post, which we all know, we all covered that. There's an intense irony that Walmart continues to sell guns despite the constant shootings in its stores. What are you talking about? Constant shootings in Walmarts. That's like not a thing. You know that, right, lady? I mean, you had one, and then the Crawford shooting, which happened many years ago, that happened. But that was because one of your non-armed customers had an absolute conniption fit and called the police and said that there was a black guy running around with a gun shooting kids, which he was not doing. So the walkout is scheduled for 3 p.m. Pacific time, which will be right at the end of the show. We're only aware of 2 people who participated in the protest, and those are the organizers, and both of those individuals came into the office yesterday, but were not at their workstations. That's Walmart spokesman. So basically this happened yesterday. So when USA Today, which, by the way, did not have an active shooter yesterday. Okay. So there was a bunch of reports, and I saw this happen all over the place, and it was frustrating because people were posting it as a news story yesterday. A new story, not a news story, a news story yesterday after it had already been called off. And it was driving me absolutely bonkers. I even posted about it, I think. So USA Today, there's an active shooter at USA Today's headquarters. No, there wasn't. There never was. There was never a threat at USA Today. Times Square, the people are running in panic with an active shooter. No, that was a motorcycle who backfired. Okay, this is how bent out of shape people are getting because of media coverage of this crap. Okay, So USA Today goes to Walmart and says, yo, you're going to have all these people walking out. Like, yeah, only 2 people walked out. It wasn't a real protest. 2 people were here. There's no indication of unusual call-ins or attendance yesterday or anything like that, they said. So there was a corporate employee protest at Walmart to stop selling guns, and 2 people, 2, participated. And they were the 2 who organized it. Nobody else cared. Well, mainly because they were peddling a bunch of nonsensical, farcical mythology, and that's not exactly going to win people over unless you are a particularly charismatic individual. And if you're working at corporate Walmart in a cubicle, that's probably not you. Nothing against it. You're certainly allowed to have any job that you want, and I'm sure you're a very capable individual at that job, but generally speaking, those super charismatic people are not working in cubicles in a corporate office. They generally don't work there. Anyway, 574-2595, 95.3. That is 2595-953. Hey, the Pitbull concert has been rescheduled. Willie Nelson canceled his national tour. Did you see that? He's having breathing problems, so hopefully Willie Nelson's going to be cool. So the Pitbull concert has been rescheduled for Friday night, August 16th. And 95.3 MNC has more free tickets for all of you. Totally fits our demo. If you'd like to enter to win a free pair of tickets to go see Pitbull for your kids or grandkids or, third generation removed grandkids, Pitbull, text the word Pitbull right now, 1 word. Saw some people doing 2 words last time. Pitbull, 1 word, okay, to 45364. Do that right now, and you will be qualified to win a pair of tickets to go see Pitbull when he comes back to town. Assuming he makes it. Message and data rates do apply. Good luck from 95.3 MNC. Again, text the word Pitbull, 1 word, to 45364 right now. I'm sure your kids or grandkids would absolutely love to have those tickets. And a few of you out there who are actually Pitbull fans. I'm sure there's a few of you. But again, Pitbull, 1 word, to 45364 right now. If you do it in 10 minutes, I'm not going to enter you in the contest. We got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Casey Hendrickson.
News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Your breaking news and weather station.
If you want to be the cool uncle or aunt, get your nieces and nephews some Pitbull tickets. Don't even ask the parents. Just do it.
Don't even ask them.
No, you can't ask the parents. You're trying to be the cool uncle and aunt, man. Can't be asking the parents for that crap.
Only because the other uncle is...
You an uncle?
I'm an uncle to 3.
Farmers are cool. They feed the masses, dude. What do? You push buttons for a living. Come on, man.
I produce for one of the best radio hosts in the state.
Given, but farmers feed people.
Yeah. But he's lame.
He's lame. Blame Monsanto, not him.
Don't storm chase me home, Casey.
Nope. Oh, man. Did I tell this story? So I was riding to the Cass County Fair, and one of the farms was spraying all over the highway, or the road. Not highway, but over the road. And I tried to wait. I was on the motorcycle. I tried to wait.
Like their
friggin' crop spritzer thing.
Like, were they trying to hit across the road?
No. No, it was just a total dick move. And so anyway... I tried to wait for it to go back over the crops, but I ultimately couldn't do it, and I didn't want to slam on my brakes and get hit by the car behind me, which was tailgating. And so I got sprayed. I hope it was potable water. I have no idea. I'm at the Cass County Fair, and a farmer comes up to me, and he's like, man, I listened to you all day in the tractor and everything else, and I was mentioning that I got sprayed. He knew which farm it was. He goes, oh, I already know who that is, and he told me the farm. I don't remember the name. He's like, because he always sprays across the road. And it makes no sense, doesn't care. The crops on the other side of the road, he said, were actually his crops. He's like, I wish you would spray further so you would water some of my crops. He knew exactly who the guy was. I mean, it's Cass County. It's like a tiny little community, right? It was funny as hell.
It's a lot of farmland, isn't it?
It's all farmland. I don't think I saw, other than downtown, which is like half a mile maybe, and then you had a couple of residential neighborhoods, but... yeah, it's all farmland. Beautiful out there. Just absolutely peaceful. Ooh, Kathy got censored for something. Hold up. Something about cramming something up my what?
That's
what, Kathy? Where did it go? Kathy's. Okay. Oh, okay. Alex uncensored it. Casey, have you ever crammed food up your butt and pooped out your mouth? It's possible, you know. What in the hell are you saying?
What?
Gee, she's quoting South Park, but holy smokes!
Oh.
Jesus, Kathy, come in easy on that one.
Yeah.
Like maybe seeing Kyle's mom is a big fat bitch or something like that. Damn. Or a polite Heidi ho would work. Heidi ho. Speed says, yeah, I'm not sure any Gen Z kids like Pitbull. Dude, I don't think so either, man. I'm just doing my job. All right. We got like 3 people enter last time I did it. How many people are entering right now? A lot! Holy crap!
I'm pretty sure that no one from
repair your current electrical systems or get ahead of the game with a professional assessment that
I've got 2 pages of entries.
You're kidding.
No. I sold it!
Well,
the last time I did, I swear to God, there's like 5 entries. And I've got 2 pages of entries right now. Pitbull, you're welcome. I expect you to say my name on your next song.
Worldwide except South Bend.
Yeah. Hey, yo, I'm Pitbull, Pitbull, Pitbull. Casey Hendrickson, Pitbull, Pitbull. Just say my name once. That's all I got to do. Oh, I want a writing credit, though. Do you think if we got Pitbull in here, I could get him to say that whenever I'm in Michiana, I listen to Casey Hendrickson? I used to have all of my celebrities do that. And I haven't done that in a long time. I used to have all of my celebrities who came through for interviews. Every time I'm in Las Vegas, I listen to Casey Hendrickson on 95.3, or whatever my old station was. AM 840 is what it was. Whether they listened or not, whether they agreed with me or not, I used to have them say that. And I would have a whole little marketing thing for it. Oh God, Jim Brewer. Jim Brewer is really funny, but I don't know if Mark's up for the challenge. He probably pre-recorded the interview. I don't know. Woo, Nelly. That is not an easy interview.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. Once again, I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number 574-25-95-95.3. That is 25-95-953. You can also send a text message to 45364. Please put MNC at the beginning of that message. A lot of uncles and aunts want to be the cool uncle or cool aunt because I've got 2 pages of Pitbull entries here. So thank you for that. Keep them coming. All right. What do we have here? I've got a lot of things. I'm going to play you, not now. I'm going to play you a montage of MSNBC's 4 craziest claims about President Trump in El Paso and that shooting there. I will play that for you in a little bit, but not quite right now. So that's coming. All right. So we obviously had the man who was involved in the stabbing spree. We talked about this in the 3 o'clock hour. Just wanted to bring it back up again. We were talking about a broader context in the 3 o'clock hour as well. This kind of came up. So 33-year-old man in Orange County, People's Republic of California. He was from Garden Grove. He was arrested for mass stabbing. He stabbed 6 people. 4 of them died. And again, this should serve as a reminder that these sorts of things happen with great regularity, by the way, but the media doesn't cover them. The media doesn't really give attention to mass stabbings. They rarely give attention to other forms of mass murder. They only seem to dedicate their attention on mass shootings, which again are increasingly rare. They are not a common occurrence. It feels like it's a common occurrence because of how the media covers it. But when you look at the 5-year averages, criminologists will tell you that it is not happening now at higher rates than it has happened traditionally throughout American history. Now, we are seeing a higher body count with them. But that seems to be because of the targets they're choosing. They're choosing these soft targets, these gun-free zones. Sometimes they're going into buildings where people are in confined spaces and are not allowed to be armed and that sort of thing. Criminologists have studied this extensively. I've given you that research And it is near universal in the results. Even though different entities study it, they come up with the same sort of statistics. So it's pretty interesting. So this 33-year-old, he started the rampage just after 4 p.m. He robbed more than a half a dozen businesses during a 2-hour wave of violence. His name was not immediately released, nor would we really care to tell you what it was. The violence appeared to be random, and the only known motive seemed to be robbery, hate, and homicide, according to the police lieutenant Carl Whitney. And he gave a news conference on this yesterday. These were random acts of violence. Our suspect was not involved with any of the victims. Again, just going around robbing people and stabbing a bunch of people, just totally at random. Now, here's something else. Somebody was telling me that in the UK, apparently there is like a knockout game, but it's with stabbing people in the UK, which is horrific to think about. I follow a lot of self-defense Instagrams where they post the uncensored videos of actual attacks that happen in public. And it is alarming, to say the least, at how many random stabbings happen in the United States. And again, they get no coverage. Nobody covers these things except for local media, and it never blows up into a big national story. There's a lot of people in the U.S. who are minding their own business, and somebody walks by them and just stabs them once and then keeps going. Just total random stabbings. This is exactly the same as the knockout game a couple of years ago, which is starting to make a comeback in Philadelphia and a couple of other places, where you're just minding your own business, then somebody comes up behind you, just hit you, and you go to sleep. Nothing you can do. You didn't see it coming. You weren't involved in an altercation in any way. And like I said, people are going to end up getting seriously hurt with this. Obviously, the victims do get seriously hurt, but I'm just saying somebody is going to not go to sleep one day. They're going to pull out a gun, and they are going to start putting holes in people. But this is happening with knives all over the U.S. And apparently it's happening in the UK now. So basically there are situational awareness Instagrams where they talk about how to be aware of your surroundings and protect yourself as much as you possibly can from something like this. And a lot of them happen on public transportation. So people will be on public transportation. They're just standing there waiting for their stop. It's crowded. It's hard to keep an eye on everybody. And as somebody is leaving for a stop, they pull out a little shank and they just they poke you once or twice and they keep moving. And by the time you realize what has happened to you, they're already gone. And you're just sitting there bleeding. And nobody around you has noticed. And this, again, it happens with alarming regularity in the U.S. And again, no coverage of this stuff. But, this is just a guy robbing everybody and then, stabbed 6 people. 4 of those people are now unfortunately dead. We believe our 2 victims in the apartment somehow confronted the suspect and an altercation occurred. We've learned so far that our suspect does reside here in the same apartment complex. One of those men died at the apartment complex. The other one is still alive at the hospital. One woman at the scene said that she believes that her husband is one of the victims, but hadn't been able to find him. They cannot give us answers, she said. I have to know what's going on with him. So again, these are, mass stabbing. Now, to qualify as a mass public shooting, there's got to be 4 victims. There's 6 victims, 4 deaths here. And mass killings happen frequently. Frequently doesn't mean like all the time and with alarming regularity that you should be afraid, but they happen more than the media presents them as. And frequently in the United States, they're fire, they're stabbings. In China, there are mass stabbings routinely. This is a very common occurrence in the Orient, especially in China. And they target kids. So in China, they tend to target classrooms of school children who, again, panic and they don't know what to do. Adults panic when a knife is presented to them and they don't know what to do. With a gun, they actually found in research that most people who are in near proximity to the gun know to go for the gun and try to get the gun away from somebody, but they don't know how to do that with a knife because they're going to be cut with the knife. And so they're afraid of being cut as well. And people with a knife assailant tend to panic more than people with somebody who has a gun on them. And unfortunately, that's just the research. Lack of training, lack of situational awareness are real problems. John, welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Oh, you there, Casey?
Yeah.
Casey, I don't know if you remember. This is John.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably 3 to 7 years ago. The guy who got on the train over in, I think the Chicago area, the Amtrak, came to Niles. They took him off the train in Niles. And as I recall, he was randomly stabbing people on the train.
Yeah.
Do you remember that story?
Yeah. I don't remember the location details, but I do remember that. Yeah, and I think it was about 3 years ago.
Yeah, he got out, and the other thing about it apparently was that his family knew he was having problems.
Right.
And I think he boarded in Chicago area on the Amtrak. Comes on the way to Niles, and then they arrest him here, I believe. But I'm pretty sure it was random stabbings. If you could pull that up as kind of a reminder to people how local it can be. So.
Well, yeah, and public transportation is where a lot of these end up happening. Obviously, some of them are you just walking down on the street and things like that, but a lot of them happen on public transportation as the attacker is getting off at a stop, and you're just sitting there, and they walk right by you. They just stick you. You know, sometimes it's in the side, sometimes it's in the back. Sometimes it's in the neck, but they just stick you and they walk away. And by the time you realize, because obviously, you know, you feel that and you're, what the heck was that? You look down, you don't understand what's going on. That person's now gone. Nobody around you has seen it. And then you realize I'm hurt and I'm bleeding and there's something seriously wrong here. And only when they get the surveillance video do they find out that you've actually been a victim of a stabbing and what happened.
Years ago, they were having some gang members that were taping razor blades onto their fingers and walking up, just rubbing their hand along people's necks and cutting their necks that way.
Yeah.
So when people get in your personal space, and of course you could always bring up those of us who are old enough to remember the Bernard Goetz story there in New York with the screwdrivers. So, anyway, thanks for taking the time. I don't know if you want to pull that old story up on the internet.
I'll look it up because I think it was about 3 years ago, but I'll double check. I'll see if I can find it.
All right,
man.
Keep up the good work.
All right, buddy.
Okay?
You take care. Be safe. Got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
This is Michiana's breaking news and weather station.
Niles Amtrak Yep, he was found not guilty by reason of insanity in 2015. So a little bit older than we thought. He was charged in December of 2014, so it goes back to 2014, so it's 5 years. He stabbed 4 people on the Amtrak train in Niles. Yep. Army veteran Michael Darnell Williams, 45.
Superintendent Todd Cummings has designed his Talks with Todd events as an opportunity to be an open forum that allows him to connect with the community. WSBT reports that the first 2 events on Wednesday had a low turnout. There were only a handful of parents at the morning meeting, and no one came to the evening event. The superintendent says he's not discouraged.
Nobody came, but they sure as hell showed up when Menards is going to get a Granger address, though. I mean, honestly, nobody came to the friggin' school board meeting about the new superintendent. Nobody gave a rat's ass about that, but they packed the house when Menards wanted to get a Granger address. We can't have a hardware store with a Granger address. That'll cause traffic problems. Morons. God, we are so friggin' backwards in the crap that motivates us to do something. And then we are motivated to do something like, oh, I don't know, clean up a filthy city. Then your motives are called into question by the local newspaper, Baltimore. God. Oh, I hate the world. Can we just burn it? Please, can we just burn it? I want to start all over. What?
We almost did that in the 60s, but Russia didn't want it.
We tried. Wimps.
Weather sponsored by
Watching my wife's reaction to Chernobyl, though, has been really interesting. Because she didn't know anything about it. And that was a good series. Really good series. If you haven't seen Chernobyl yet on HBO, you need to watch it.
Sunny with a high of 78. Highs climb back into the 80s this weekend with sunshine and staying dry. In the ABC 57 First Warning Neighborhood Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Coombs.
News powered by Temper Grill. Make plans this week to experience
Just stab everybody, man. Remember, stab responsibly. My ad campaign that John did not like. We had 2 years ago, we had the Christmas advertising campaign for ASD, and it was the Merry Stabbing Sale. We said stab responsibly. And John came, he's like, dude, you have to change your commercial. You can't do this. The commercial had run for a month, and he never noticed, okay? Very effective ad campaign.
You know what that probably means? Is that, well, them probably kindly noticed it.
Yeah, probably. But he told me to change it the day before the last day of the ad campaign. I'm like, I'm not changing it. It's like, it's got one more day. You're advocating violence. I said responsible violence. There's a big difference.
What's the last name in your company, Casey? What's that last word?
Defense.
Defense? Is that what
Yup.
What's the AS?
Agamemnon self-defense. So AS defense. Agamemnon. So yeah, it used to be Agamemnon self-defense, and then everybody was like, "Who's Agamemnon?" I'm like, "You all suck at history, so screw you guys." Agamemnon was the guy who led Athens against Troy and devised the Trojan horse. And I started with hidden weapons, like my pen that has the knife in it. So everything I did was like a Trojan horse. So my logo is an A for Agamemnon with a Trojan horse head inside. Aha! Smart as hell! There's going to be articles written about my company's logo one day.
Probably not, but
The Easter eggs in this amazing company. All right, come on. Give me the damn video. Crazy MS Ambition. All right, you cue up my audio, man.
As much as the game.
Yeah.
President Obama used the power of the presidency to try to pass comprehensive immigration reform with the Latino community, Latino leaders at the table. You don't have a president.
There we go.
So we can enjoy the whole day with
You're stupid.
This is Casey Weed, president of Howard Bailey Financial.
All right. Breaking news. U.S. fighter jets intercept Russian bombers near Alaska, as has been happening for decades.
We're really here to discuss you and the challenges you'll face in retirement. You are unique, and we're willing to put in the time and effort to ensure you receive a plan that's tailored just for you. Give us a call today for a free consultation.
My Wise camera caught my kid falling out of bed last night.
Love that.
Yeah, that was it. She fell out, and she was so freaked out. She freaked out my eldest, who immediately screamed and asked for us to help our youngest. She was panicked. And then I always get those creepy shots of my eldest who sits on her bed and just stares at the camera until she falls asleep. Just stares at it. So you get the glowing cat eye things, and she's just staring at the damn camera. Like, Jesus. Creepy kid. Creepy.
Whatever the achievement or occasion, the Crown Trophy of Mishawaka on McKinley has the custom awards, trophies, plaques, promotional items, corporate awards.
Okay, Tracy, sorry, my uniform or my unified chat hasn't been working. Are you talking about Chernobyl being like a documentary? So it's a drama, but it's based on the real events. And there's actually a couple of articles where they took pictures from real Chernobyl, and they showed the side-by-side from those real pictures versus the movie, and it is remarkably accurate. So, yeah, it's really, really good. But it's a drama. It's with actors and all of that stuff, but they're recreating all of the real steps that actually happened. The only thing that has been really changed was there's a female scientist in it who represented dozens of other scientists. So instead of casting dozens of scientists, they just cast one woman to represent all of them. So that's really the only big change that they made. But really, really good. My family is from Chernobyl.
And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. All right, we're talking about self-defense here. And tonight at the Defensive Pistol Open League Night at Second Amendment Arms and Range, their theme today is home self-defense. So if you are looking at building some skills and learning some new skills about home self-defense, the Defensive Pistol Open League Night at Second Amendment Arms and Range tonight is the one you want to go to. Go to secondamendmentarms.net for contact information and, of course, let them know that I sent you. All right, so I found the story of the last caller. We were wrong. It wasn't 3 years ago. I thought it was about 3 years ago. It was actually 5. And I think he said, 3 or 5 years ago or something like that, right? So he was closer than I was. So, by the way, that stabber on the Niles Amtrak train was found not guilty by reason of insanity in 2015. The man charged in December 2014 with stabbing 4 people on an Amtrak train in Niles, Michigan, has been found not guilty by reason of insanity. Army veteran Michael Darnell Williams, 45, faced 12 counts, including assault with the intent to murder, resisting an officer, and concealing a weapon. All counts were dismissed on Thursday. Again, this is 2015, October. He was found incapable of perceiving his environment. So again, he apparently has a form of disorder that causes delusions. All right. But yep. So that's it. He was mentally ill and stabbed 4 people on the Amtrak train and was found not guilty by reason of insanity in 2015. So yep. A little bit off on the years, but I remembered the story. And good that he brought that up. I might put that in the Daily Show prep as a flashback for everybody. All right. I want to play some audio. Cue it. All right. So this is four of the craziest claims about President Trump and the San Jose shooter on MSNBC. Okay. This all happened on one network. I just want you to listen to some of the stuff that they've said. I've intentionally not covered a lot of the crazy stories that are in these sound bites because they're so ludicrous. They really speak for themselves, and I've had other things to discuss, but I wanted to go ahead and play the sound bite of these 4 nutso claims that happened on MSNBC. Again, this is one network, 4 different people, 4 different personalities. Just have a listen to this.
President Obama used the power of the presidency to try to pass comprehensive immigration reform with the Latino community, Latino leaders at the table. You now have a president, as you said, talking about exterminating Latinos.
We have to understand the adversary and the threat we're dealing with. And if we don't understand how they think, we'll never understand how to counter them. So it's the little things and language and messaging that matters. The president said that we will fly our flags at half-mast until August 8th. That's 8/8. Now, I'm not going to imply that he did this deliberately, but I am using it as an example of the ignorance of the adversary that's being demonstrated by the White House. The numbers 8/8 are very significant in neo-Nazi and white supremacy movement. Why? Because the letter H is the 8th letter of the alphabet, and to them, the numbers 8/8 together stand for Heil Hitler. So we're going to be raising the flag back up at dusk on 8/8. No one's thinking about this.
This country has had several of these mass incidents, but I think we're overdue for a Breivik-style real massacre of a political nature. And as Cynthia said, these people feel that they are the foot soldiers and executors of what the disenfranchisement that the white race is feeling, and Donald Trump is giving them subliminal orders in their head. They are no different than the mobilized, self-starting, self-radicalized terrorists of ISIS here in the United States and Europe who take cars and drive down streets.
And we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things he can do.
But he won't. And so you have to ask the question, Joe. And I'll ask you. Isn't it okay to deduce that at this point, this is what he wants? He is inciting hatred, inciting violence, inciting racism. If he doesn't unequivocally call it off and say this is wrong and we stand together against this and we are doing this, this, and this to help fight hate crime. I mean, this is a president who seems to want these things to happen.
And Mika Brzezinski's not being satisfied by her husband. It's clear because she's nuts. She's absolutely crazy. Now, for the record, okay, Alex Jones has been attacked and deplatformed for less crazy conspiracies than the 4 that we just heard. Okay? I'm not defending Alex Jones. Although he's getting a really bad rap about Sandy Hook. He's explained that for many years, and people are still bringing it up and taking it completely out of context. But he has said less crazy things than the 4 people. Nicole Wallace, who has apologized, she was forced to apologize, says, I was misspeaking when I said the president wanted to exterminate Latinos. Frank Figliuzzi, I had never heard of the 8-8 thing before. So I looked it up on the live stream today. I'd never heard of it. And 8-8 is actually not the Heil Hitler thing that he's talking about. It's 88. And it comes from some guy who wrote a white supremacist manifesto many, many years ago about the 88 precepts, which are like 88 things that you need to do to establish a like an Aryan society. Okay, so it's not 88, it's 88. All right. Now, the Anti-Defamation League says that 88 means Heil Hitler, but they're apparently the only organization that seems to think that. So I'd never heard of this before. And you got this guy who I've never heard of before, Frank Figliuzzi, out there going, I'm not accusing the president of doing this, but this proves the ignorance he has of white supremacists. Well, okay. If Donald Trump is ignorant of white supremacist secret code that nobody else knows, unless you specifically study white supremacists, then doesn't it stand to reason that he isn't one of them? Right? And that he's not giving them, Malcolm Nance, subliminal marching orders? Right? Malcolm Nance, Trump is giving Nazis subliminal orders. Again, whether you like Alex Jones or not, Alex Jones has been kicked off pretty much every social media platform out there for something that happened with Sandy Hook many years ago that he has retracted and apologized for numerous times for many years. Okay? These 4 idiots made far more conspiratorial tinfoil hat claims just on MSNBC this week than Alex Jones has in his entire flipping career. And the guy has made millions on 9/11 conspiracies. And I'm telling you, this stuff was more nutsy than 9/11 conspiracy talk. Now, Mika Brzezinski, this is what Trump wants. He wants violence. Unless he goes out there and unequivocally says that we reject all of this, which he has done for over 2 years. And he did recently, right after the shootings, when he gave his speech. Remember, everybody wanted him to go ahead and once again disavow white supremacy, which he did one more time, and then they were ticked off that he did it. Cory Booker went out there and demanded that he go out there and disavow white supremacy and racist violence. And the president did, and then Cory Booker attacked him for it, said he didn't believe him. So Mika Brzezinski, this is what Trump wants, unless he goes out there and says, we reject all of this, which he did. And she completely had no clue. I want to remind everybody that Mika Brzezinski and her husband were really big fans and friends of Donald Trump before he was a candidate. They asked for him to be at their wedding, ladies and gentlemen. They were like this. They were tight. So I don't know if I necessarily believe that they honestly think this way, or if this is purely a ratings get, that they're just going to go off the deep end and be nutso and cater to the base, because those are the only people who watch MSNBC anyway, besides people like me who make fun of them constantly because they're always saying stupid things. But Nicole Wallace, Trump is talking about exterminating Latinos. Never happened. She's now been forced to apologize for that. Frank Figliuzzi, Trump is raising a flag until 8-8 signals Heil Hitler to Nazis, which I've never even heard of. And it turns out that it's not 8-8, it's 88, because of a manual that somebody not named Donald Trump and not named Adolf Hitler wrote about white supremacists many years ago, about the 88 precepts of establishing an Aryan society. And then you have Malcolm Nance, that Trump is giving Nazi subliminal orders. And then you have Mika Brzezinski that Trump wants this violence and he won't disavow any of this stuff. It's going back to the stupid Charleston lie, where they're saying that he never disavowed white supremacist and hates. And yes, he did. I played you the clips multiple times. I've debunked it on the Fake News Flash on the show multiple times online. That's just 1 week from one network. And honestly, those are just the 4 craziest ones. We heard many more. The Trump derangement syndrome should be a diagnosable disorder at this point, where you are medicated. And if you continue showing symptoms of it, you should probably be thrown in an insane asylum. This is all of these people, because I'm pretty sure that I always forget Mika Brzezinski's husband's name. I know he used to be a congressman, used to be a pseudo-Republican congressman. I think he said that he owns a firearm, right? If you're going to say the things that he says, he needs to be red flagged, and he needs to lose his firearms until he proves that he's not a threat to anybody. Because the way that he's been talking lately, too, is just nutso. We got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Keeping you connected with breaking news.
On the radio at 95.3 FM and online at 95.3 MNC.com.
I never remember his name. Always have to look it up.
Your breaking news and weather station.
Weather served up by the Prime Table Restaurant in Niles. Does your family or group meet regularly for breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Just call the Prime Table to reserve tables for your next gathering.
It was a good series, but they got a couple of things very wrong. Yeah, I mean, they're still running on the premise that it was just this safety test thing and not an additional test that we have heard rumors of. Yeah, and the PragerU video, by the way, got censored. And like I said, it's been debunked for years, but people are still saying it. They're still running around and lying that the president praised neo-Nazis, which he never did. So, Scarborough, that's it. Thank you, Wayner.
Michiana's news channel, would you like to talk to Casey? Can I ask what you're calling about, please? Mishawaka? Well, that's not currently our topic right now, sir, but you're welcome to call us tomorrow.
Michiana's news channel, your breaking news and weather station.
Hi, this is Dwayne Miller with Good Faith Management, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and want to sell it fast and for a fair price, call me at 574.
All right. Let me. Your first name's Mark, sir. Alrighty, I'll try to get you on there.
What does he want?
He wants to talk about what you just talked about.
Sure he does. What about Mishawaka does he want to actually talk about?
He thought I said, where are you calling from?
Oh. So somebody sent me a message and go, hey, Casey, today's my daughter's birthday. Great to hear it represents racism. HH? Really? Why are you such a neo-Nazi, man? I know you planned it out. I know you planned to have your daughter... hold on a second. Who is Hitler's girlfriend? Wife?
They got married and then he committed.
That's right. They did get married right at the end, right? Eva Braun. Is she named Eva? That's what I want to know. Is your daughter named Eva?
New wheels and suspension, and may even change out a light bulb or two. So if the inside is looking great, why not make the outside look just as flawless? Upward Auto Spa on Edison Road in Mishawaka and Ireland Road in South Bend to make sure your ride looks pristine and clean. They're also home of the Buy 5, Get 3 free. For every 5 washes you buy, you'll receive 3 free. So whether you, your spouses, or your
what an effing mess.
Or for only $15.95 a month, you can get an unlimited.
See, Tracy, you got it. None of those people. I'm pretty sure that I've heard Joe and Mika talk about them being gun owners. They should be red flagged like that and lose their ability to have a gun. Because they're pushing these red flag laws, and they are crazy. Absolutely nuts.
I've been coming here for years. Great food, great entertainment.
My lighting's all weird again.
This weekend, why not make some memories with friends and family at 4
I wish I had my motorcycle today.
Saturday with a 55-inch flat screen TV, one given away
Residency in the front.
courtesy of WSB.
Yeah, it was, you know, still kind of up in the air if it was going to rain a little bit.
Proceeds to benefit South Bend Cubs charities. And don't miss a special appearance by the Northern Darkness Garrison 501st Legion. Then Sunday, it's a fun day. Game starts at 2. Play catch on the field before the game with autographs from noon to 1. Presented by Dairy Queen and ABC 57. Plus, be one of the first fans through the gates for a backpack giveaway, courtesy of Indiana 811. And Monday, don't miss a special night of spectacular fireworks after the game. Presented by First Source Bank and WNDU TV. The South Bend Cubs at Four Winds Field, where everyone comes to play.
Plenty of soybeans in storage in Indiana, and you know what? I want them all.
Oh my God. Do I hold on till I get home to eat, or do I have my beef jerky on the way home? I'm so hungry. Or do I save the beef jerky for tomorrow morning? What do I do?
So give me a call at 574-566-2113 to custom build a marketing solution to fit your needs.
Get ready. Cash for trash. From R&B Car Company in Warsaw and South Bend, with 600 vehicles to choose from and $2,500 minimum for your trade, or an additional $2,500. Clunker's got to go.
So did you guys see that the Castro dude who released all of the Trump donors? It wasn't just one of his own supporters that he doxed; it was 6. Trying to shame Trump supporters by doxing them. He doxed 6 of his own donors, one of whom says he's not going to support him now. Wasn't it Joaquin Castro that had that really stupid Second Amendment quote that I play all the time? Pretty sure it was. And good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. Phone number, 574-25-95-95-3. As I got a listener who sent me a text and said, Casey, today is my daughter's birthday. Great to hear that it represents racism. HH, question mark? And I asked if his daughter was named Eva. Eva Braun. Because that was Hitler's wife. And it's just such a kooky conspiracy theory. And then they wrote me back, very funny. Casey, she was born 8'8" and weighed 8 pounds, 8 ounces at 8:08 a.m. Man, you are such a super Nazi. It's not even funny. All right. Anyway, what else do we have here? Too many weak-minded leftists took the story Chicken Little to heart and turned it into a political theory. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just it's so laughable. It's hard to even take seriously. Mark, welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
This just shows you how desperate they are because they know they don't have a candidate that could beat Trump in 2020.
Yeah.
So they just got to keep trying to make this shit up and think they're changing.
All right, 574-25-95-95-3. That is 2595-953. But they do have a weak platform. They said, listen to, Joe Biden today. Joe Biden is running around and he's at the Iowa State Fair and he's running around and he's, saying again, Trump's a racist and everything else. And again, the ironic thing is, of the white candidates that we have, the only one that has actually said anything racist has been Joe Biden. I'm not aware of any of the other white candidates saying anything racist. I'm aware of some of the non-white candidates who have said some racist things. But Joe Biden's the only pasty white guy that I know of who would be in the election next year who's actually said some racist things. So, like I said, it's the amount of derangement should red flag every single one of these people. Anybody who has Trump derangement syndrome should lose the ability to own firearms under red flag laws like that. Hannity's up next. Have a wonderful night.
My name's Dave Titus with International RV in Elkhart, Indiana.
The things that we see people that are really concerned with is whether they can actually afford an RV or not. They see these big things going down the road. Oh my gosh, I could never have one of those. And we have units that start at around $100 a month. It's all about the fun, sitting around the campfire with your wife in the evening or with your kids.
Woo, look at those credits go. Woo, Dilly. That was fast. Damn. super fast. Some super fast credits right there. I gotta get those credits fixed. Holy moly. All right. Any final words, ladies and gentlemen? I gotta get my steak on. Do.
For years. Find it's 2 miles north of the bypass on Highway 19 in Elkhart or at International.
Yeah.
WTRC FM and HD1. Niles, South Elkhart.
Is the backwards hat some sort of motorcycle gang thing? Yup! It is. Oh, I didn't show you guys the front, though. Let me show you the front. There you go. I haven't fixed the bill the way that I like it, but it does. See, it matches my logo. It's got a similar color scheme.
Trump is showing interest in backing legislation to strengthen background checks on people seeking to purchase firearms. But NRA CEO Wayne LaPierre has reportedly tried to talk the president out of supporting stronger background checks.
Eat the jerky. Jerky is good. I mean, it's hard to say no. Hard to say no to the jerky. The jerky is yummers. Damn, YouTube is like way behind the show. Like way behind. All right, Alex, appreciate it, bud. Good win today, Casey. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate that. I'll take it.
Attorneys for the Cruces family say the suspected shooter's mother called police in Allen, Texas because she was concerned her son was too immature.
Casey, you can see Pitbull on Friday and Snoop Dogg on Saturday. One heck of a weekend. Man. No, thank you. But while Snoop's in town, I will have some gin and juice in honor of him. How about that? Thanks, B-dubs. Appreciate it. Huh?
Isn't everything Trump does politically motivated?
Everything is politically motivated. That's right. Mike is right. You turn it around so that way the wind don't take it and make it disappear. That's why they got the logo crap up front. Although I can't wear the hat with my helmet anyway, so I have got to.
Because Casey wants to be safe.
Only because of the kids. If I didn't have the kids, I wouldn't care. All right, cool. Think we're done. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you share it, spread it like VD, let everybody know that I'm here, and you all have a wonderful night. We will see you tomorrow.